Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome back. We made it. Amen. We made it. Welcome back to the podcast, you guys. Crowns Podcast here with your host, Minister Shelley. And I'm just connecting the dots. Okay, that's all I'm doing. I am just connecting the dots. You know what I mean? I just want to preface this by saying all we're doing is connecting the dots, right? And praying and praying concerning everything that we see. I know I don't get to pray with you guys at the end of each stream. I try to, but tonight we're going to have to make it a point and make it an intention that we not only pray in the beginning, but we also pray in the end because this, you guys, it's really really sickening. It's really sickening, and yeah, we are going to be talking about something that is I don't even know what to call it, guys. Uh-oh, that's not even our you see? That's not even our this is where we are tonight. The magic of Hollywood. The magic of Hollywood. That was last night's thumbnail, by the way, that I just showed. So if you haven't seen this, okay, if you haven't seen this, go watch this. It is mostly teaching. So, I don't want you to, I'm saying to get to, what I mean? It's mostly teaching, but still it is very very helpful and very very useful for those who are struggling with spirit spouses, marine spirits invading your dreams, all those kinds of things, right? Spiritual husband, spiritual wife, incubus succubus spirits, people that are struggling with porn, masturbation, and all of that. Really really helpful and useful stream. So please go back and watch that and share it with everyone you love. But for tonight, this is where we are. The magic of Hollywood. I just don't even, I don't even know. I don't even know, guys. Um, let's get started on our journey. We are talking about Hollywood witchcraft, child sacrifice, um, and the ex-Satanic High-Wizard Zachary King tells all. Warning, seatbelts, please. Oxygen mask. Mature audiences only. This content is not suitable for children. So, you know, let's go. All right. So, talking about Hollywood, the evil roots of Hollywood, exploring the roots, okay? So we can pluck it up by the roots, and the abortion agenda, and this man's testimony, Zachary King, because it is really, really going to connect everything and give us a better glimpse at what's really going on in Hollywood, why they are so adamant. With the whole why they're so adamant about this whole pro-abortion thing, pro-choice thing, the democrat thing. I mean, just why they're doing what they're doing. So we are looking at this tonight, and like I said, grab an oxygen mask if you can. There's going to be some moments like that here tonight. Seatbelts, please. Just brace yourself, okay? Just brace yourself, because this man's testimony is smoking. It is mind blowing, and he just really, really helps us to connect what's going on. And we're gonna talk a little bit about some of the figures, some of the top um, Hollywood figures, or what they call high priest and high priestesses in Hollywood, and in the entertainment business. I have been being drawn to this place, this mountain of culture and society for several years. I've been talking about, the seven mountains for several years, and namely the mountain of entertainment. And part of that is because I used to, that was the route that I wanted to take in life a long time ago when I was small, when I was in school. Um, the part of my life that I did enjoy in school. I took drama class. I wanted to be an actress. And then later, when I got up in age, I actually started going to modeling school. But then, I was doing that at the wrong time in my life, apparently. And that was not the road that God had destined for me. So, you guys, let's dig into this. So now, the first thing I want to the first thing that we're going to talk about is Hollywood. Okay. Some people don't realize, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So, some people don't realize that Hollywood is what makes Hollywood. Why, number one, why they named Hollywood Hollywood, and what makes Hollywood Hollywood. Okay. We're going to look at a little bit at the roots of Hollywood here. Um, and let's see. Gonna screen share this with you. They do lie about a lot of this stuff, to be honest, but we're just gonna do the best we can. Okay. Gonna do the best we can. Hello, hi, welcome. By the way, please share, subscribe, hit the like button if you like these kinds of topics, and thank you for being here. Amen. Thank you for being here. Hello, hello. God bless you, woman of God. God bless you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Amen. Thank you for tuning in. I guess I better open the chat box just in case anyone wants to drop their comments. You can drop them. And guys, okay, so let's screen share. Okay, let your excuse me, let your sister screen share. Get a drink of water. This is where we're going first. Good old Wikipedia. All right. Excuse me. So, talking about Hollywood, um, it says Hollywood, sometimes informally called Tinseltown, is a neighborhood and district in the central region of Los Angeles, excuse me, County, California. Okay. Within the city of Los Angeles, its name has become synonymous with the U.S. film industry and the people associated with it. Many notable film studios, such as Sony Pictures, Walt Disney Studios, Paramount Pictures, Warner Brothers, and Universal Pictures, are located in or near Hollywood. I'm going to go here a little bit into more into the history of it here. I really want to I want to read this part. History. H.J. Whitley, a real estate developer, arranged to buy the 400-acre E.C. Hurd Ranch. Whitley shared his plans for this new town with General Harrison Gray Otis, publisher of Los Angeles Times, and Ivar Weed, if I'm saying it correctly, a prominent businessman in the area. Data Wilcox, who donated land to help in the development of Hollywood, learned of the name Hollywood from an acquaintance who owned an estate by that name in Illinois. Wilcox is quoted saying, "I chose the name Hollywood simply because it sounds nice and because I'm superstitious and Holly brings good luck." She recommended the same name to her husband, Harvey Wilcox, who had purchased 120 acres on February 1st, 1887. It was not until August 1887 that Wilcox decided to use that name and filed it with the Los Angeles County Recorder's Office on a deed and parcel map of the property. So Hollywood was initially um, came into being, or was established as a town, right? Um, in 1887, August of 1887 is what it shows here. Okay. And what she said about the name. Now, notice it was a woman. First of all, it was a woman who named and founded Hollywood. Okay. So you wonder, about the feminist agenda and all that kind of thing. Hollywood was not founded by a man, it was founded by a woman. Um, and then what did she say about the name? She said she chose the name Hollywood simply because it sounds nice and because I'm superstitious and Holly brings good luck. So I think the first part, you know, I don't know, how nice that sounds, because Hollywood is, the word Holly, you don't just do things just because a name sounds nice, especially when you are founding or establishing a whole new town. That's not why you name a town. Okay. I'm pretty sure she understands that names have significance. Okay. um, so yeah. Okay. So, but she said the truth too, right? Holly brings good luck. It is superstitious. She was superstitious. That's the truth. She was superstitious, even though we know that, we're not supposed to be superstitious, but she was superstitious. And her reasoning was the word Holly brings good luck, or Holly brings good luck. Now, when we do our research, or we can just go back a few live streams ago, you saw me here showing a clip where the word Hollywood actually came from, or the name Hollywood actually came from druids, which are witches in Ireland, who they used witchcraft. They used the holly tree branches to do witchcraft, and the sticks that they carried were Hollywood, or holly, wood sticks. Okay. So this initially, that name is connected to witchcraft. You wonder why in around Christmas time, what do they want you to do? Have a holly jolly Christmas. They want you to put the little piece of holly, over the doorway, and kiss under it, and all those kinds of superstitious things, right? Holly is not. It's not a good thing in our world. In the kingdom of God, every tree, I'm saying, is it's a tree. Okay, it's a tree. We can take up any deadly thing, and it shall not harm us. Right. So this is not to incite fear in holly trees. Yeah. Okay. But at the same time, we want to be educated. So that's why we're here. Okay. So we got that. Right. We got that. Um, and then now we are going to talk about a little bit about, I want to play the shorter clips first, because um that way, we can, I think we can get done faster. We can finish this faster. So I want to play a couple of clips that I stumbled upon in my research, and things that I knew, but I just never kind of brought them to the surface in this manner before. So the first thing is going to be a clip of Tucker Carlson, Tucker Tucker Carlson, um, doing an interview, or speaking with the guest Roseanne Barr. We would just want to hear some things about what they're saying about Hollywood. These people have come out of Hollywood, and what they're saying about it. So we're going to play this clip. This is actually The Hill. It does let's see. It does. Do I have Tucker Carlson's actual clip? Okay, never mind. All right, let's go. Try to. All right, there we go. All right. Hope you can see, hope you can hear. Let's go.
Of human blood. But Carlson insisted that she was not crazy. Take a look.
It's going to be the emperor went to Epstein Island and ate people. And they do that. They eat babies. That is not. It's true.
So it's not just the dogs and the cats, not just the pets.
It's not just the dogs and the cats. They're full-on vampires. And everybody still thinks I'm crazy, but I'm not crazy. They're full-on vampires. They love the taste of human flesh, and they drink human blood. They do, Tucker. Stop staring at me like that.
You're freaking me out, man. Because you spent your life in the entertainment business, so I think you have some authority on this.
This moment raises a good question, which is how far are right-wing media personalities willing to go in their support for former President Donald Trump? Robbie.
All right. Okay, so let's stop sharing that one, and let's play this next one. Play this next one for you. I'm going to go back to the beginning of this one.
I think it was more related to just being.
I think we don't need that. Can y'all see? Now, again, mature content, so you might see some cleavage, and you might hear one or two, word bombs, but this is for mature people. So, we're not moved by that. Okay. We just want to get the information. Educational purposes always.
I wasn't allowed to be a human. I was a topic of conversation and gossip and punchlines. It's just a few drops, but yes, we do consume each other's blood on occasion for ritual purposes. I know I can't protect them forever. Hi, I'm Megan Fox, and this is my Glamour Unfiltered.
Now, she said this on Glamour Unfiltered, right? For Glamour magazine. So, she is confirming that they do drink blood. She said it's just a few drops, for ritual purposes. How much is too much for ritual purposes? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? How little is too little, or just a little, for ritual purposes. She's talking about witchcraft rituals, guys, satanic rituals. So, there's nothing innocent about that. Okay. So let's back out of that one now. And when she said, her children, like she can't protect them, she started crying when she was talking about the people that she could not protect. She knew that there was coming a time that she would not be able to protect them. When you watch a full interview, and the link will be in the description, you'll find that she's talking about her children. Okay. She's talking about her children, that she wouldn't be able to protect her own children from Hollywood. Okay. So why would you need to protect your children from Hollywood? All right. So let me pull my next clip here. This one.
It was just that
So I'm going to skip through this a little bit. I just want to, this is a lady, her name is Anneke Lucas, or Anneke Lewis. Lucas, sorry. She is a survivor of child sex trafficking. She was just 6 years old when her mother sold her to an elite pedophile network that abused and killed children. Okay. So she's going to talk about how she rose from slave to, victory there. So let's get a little bit of her testimony.
My name is Anneke Lucas, and I primarily identify myself as a survivor of child sex trafficking. I grew up in Belgium, and my family was quite normal from the outside. Father, mother, and 2 children, boy and girl. This was my stepfather. My mother actually had me when she was single. My stepfather was the mayor of the village. And so we were not poor. Growing up for me is in the first years, I had a caretaker, and my mother was single. And I was being brought to a caretaker every day. I loved her. She loved me. And I was actually very outgoing as a toddler. This caregiver, being in Brussels, which is a bilingual town, was French speaking. So I actually started speaking French, not Flemish. Even though I was being abused by my mother at the time, I was also very outgoing, very bossy, little girl. And then when my mother married, when I was 4 years old, I shut down very much. I lost the woman who loved me, who was like a real mother to me. And we moved to Flanders. I learned Flemish, but this was the beginning, the onset really of where I was starting to get groomed to be taken into the trafficking network. So I believe that my mother was targeted by the network. Well, we got a cleaning lady. And that cleaning lady, my mother now had a son by my stepfather, my brother. The cleaning lady started to offer to take me with her to watch me. And so for 1 year, the cleaning lady and her husband took me to outings. So these outings, there's lots of children always. They were from Holland. In fact, we went swimming every week. They taught me how to swim. I never liked them. The children seemed to change all the time. They kept saying that there were cousins and nephews and nieces from Holland. And there were definitely Dutch children there, but also Belgian children. And I was rather confused. I was never really allowed to connect with any of these children, but there were many. They did this for about a year before they took me then to the first event in the network. Once I was being taken to the network, my mother actually took over from the pimps. I don't really know what happened exactly, but I tried to tell my mother what had happened to me and the words that I had available to me at that time. And instead of protecting me and protecting me, she actually started to drive me herself. I was then trafficked into a pedophile network that actually at the time consisted of the VIPs of the country. The boss of the network was the Minister of National Defense at the time. The people involved, I found out later more than anything, but were all quite powerful, had important posts. And it was a mix of politicians, of high-placed officials, in fact, government officials, clergy, as well as aristocrats. And that was the Belgian network. However, this Belgian network connected to what is an international network. Well, it's very dark what happens inside the network. It's a mafia that uses kids to blackmail people primarily. People get lured in, but of course it takes a specific kind of person who is going to go that way, who's not going to stop themselves before they end up in bed with a child.
Just want to pause there. Remember what Nathan Reynolds said about his family. He said they were an occult crime mafia family, or mafia crime family, who, worship Lucifer or Hillel. Okay. And they believe that they were of the direct lineage of the Nephilim. So these are mafia families who feel like they have a right to do the things that they're doing. Yeah, let's keep going. I'm going to back up a little bit.
in. But of course, it takes a specific kind of person who is going to go that way, who's not going to stop themselves before they end up in bed with a child.
Nope.
Everybody was in each other's pocket and nobody was free anymore. So first, this husband of the cleaning lady to me, and I was just around my 6th birthday. So I was brutally. Then they took me to what was an orgy in a castle. And it was extremely confusing because it was a masked ball or something. It was masked. And so people were all dressed like hippies. That was the first time. And it was extreme. And it was clear, it was made clear from the start that if I were to speak out, then not only I would be killed, but anybody, I would definitely be killed. And
now, I just want you to keep some things in mind here. First of all, last night we talked about why they love orgies, okay? Where this whole orgy thing, came from. It's Book of Enoch, okay? And how these fallen ones, or slept with these women, created Nephilim, right? Who were giants born of these women. And in the Book of Enoch, it actually says that, they were extreme in everything carnal or fleshly, right? And that they also began to consume one another. They began to eat one another because these were giants. So they had giant size appetites. Some people's theory is that another reason God destroyed them was because they were consuming all the resources, from the regular people, so on and so forth. Well, we see them doing that today. They're stealing, in order to consume resources from regular, ordinary people. You can't have anything without them coming to you to try to get it from you, okay, in that sense. And then also keep in mind that she said that her mother gave her over. So her mother didn't protect her. This part is, it's kind of sensitive to me because, I feel like it's, I wasn't pushed that far, but, it's a part of my testimony from when I was young, when I was about 7 years old or going on 7. But I'm not going to share that with you here. Okay. I've shared it before and I'm going to share it. You'll hear it again in my book. Because it's, I just, I want people who hear it going forward to be able to appreciate the value of it and actually be helped by it. And, that it brings some level of healing to people rather than it just be trampled underfoot. Okay. Now, but her mother, and I want you to just put a little pin right there into how these celebrities' parents, either mother or father, the celebrities that we know of today, if you look back at their story, you'll see where one of their parents or both of their parents actually gave them over, to the elite, gave them over to Hollywood, gave them over, and basically sold them into child slavery, child, whatever Hollywood wanted to do with them. Okay. We see a lot of them starting out in Disney, with the child shows, and then suddenly there's a transformation and they become this perverted, sexualized idol. Okay. We're going to talk more about that.
If I spoke out, and that was made clear not long after. And it was made clear from the start that if I were to speak out, then not only I would be killed, but anybody, I would definitely be killed. And if I spoke out, and that was made clear. Not long after that, my mother got a driver's license. She couldn't drive. She just got a driver's license without taking lessons. She got a car without having taken lessons. So she got the only available automatic car at that time, which was a Dutch car. So she was very excited. She actually took me to the registrar office, the sort of Belgian DMV, which was at the town hall, to get her driver's license because she was really proud. And then she started to drive me to the network herself. And my mother had a contact who was a woman from a noble family, and I've seen them talk to this countess, which made no sense at all. This countess would have never addressed those people, or would have really not ever addressed my mother either. But my mother sort of bragged about her relationship with this countess. I was 6 when it started, and for the first 3 years I was used as what was called an expendable child, because my mother and father were themselves not part of this network as other parents were. They could do anything with me. In the Belgian network, there was a group, particularly aristocrats, who killed children. So a few times I was in situations like that, but I just happened to not be killed. So in this network, you have to understand it's a murderous network. Expendable children, that means that they can be killed. That's to say, it was clear that their lives wasn't valued, so those children could be used for anything. That could mean they could be used for torture and killing. So it's very hard to talk about what happened to me during those first 3 years, because it was very extreme. So I was in quite a few extreme situations. I was sometimes taken to bars and given to the men there, but other times I was taken to castles, and then waiting with a handler until until the first group of people had left, and then at the late hour the younger children were brought in. Sometimes I was taken to somebody's house for the day. My mother would keep me out of school and then just drive me to somebody's house, and then whatever was necessary. I have remembered things about being in extreme situations with where other children did die. So my mother was being paid for this. What would happen then with an expendable child is the parents get paid. Of course, there's no contract, nothing is in writing. It's all very vague. My mother's denial itself took care of a lot, but there was money exchanged, and her contact person was this countess. But let's say if I would have been killed and other children were, then a doctor who was part of the network would have been able to write a death certificate, and bring up. So in 1972, I was traded by the boss of the network to an international player, somebody who was in the international network that the boss of the network wanted to do business with, wanted to be in their good favor, because this was someone who had global power. And this person apparently had this countess ask my mother who my father was, and also they drew blood. Anyway, they found out that I'm from one of the bloodlines, which is something that in this global network is very important. So this perpetrator then decided that he was going to get me trained, that's to say, mind control trained, which is torture-based, and to make me an elite slave, and to even give me a platform on the world stage so I could be an elite slave to the most powerful men in the world. So,
all right, guys, pause. That was a lot, right? So now, look at the words that she's using. Think about other testimonies. Think about Allie Carter's testimony. Think about, where she's talking about how children are actually, some children are used, for blackmail and so on, in orgies and things like that. And then others are actually used in other ways where they're actually tortured and killed. Okay. And we know what they're doing with it after they kill. Okay. And then she also mentioned the bloodline families, right? She mentioned these aristocrats, these noble families, right? And we learned about that with Fritz Springmeier um, a couple weeks ago here when we did the review about him and his book. And in his book, Bloodlines of the Illuminati, guess who's one of those bloodline families? Disney. Walt Disney is part of one of those is part of one of those bloodline families, and that is why Disney is so wicked. I know, on the surface, all you see is Lucifer, light bearer, angel of light, it just looks so harmless. But now everything is being shaken out, and we can see everything for what it really is. And this woman has no reason to lie. Like she said, this happened to her, started back in the like 1970, early 70s. She said she was 6 years old in 72. Well, that tells you how old she is now, right? So no reason to lie.
So elite slaves are trained, most of them are trained from a very young age. And they can be people who are actually famous, but are actually being used as slaves because it's all about the same kind of mafiosi style. I was being trained to spy, and also I was literally trained to make men fall in love with me at age 9. It was about a month long initially, but it was really a year long. The whole training was a year long, and meanwhile I was already being used. I was taken to Germany on weekends and spent it with someone who I realized later was a very big politician in Germany at the time. I mean, I was not only did he really like me, but I was also spying on him, and I was reporting about his weakness then to who had become my owner, which was this international network. Basically, when I was going to Germany on the
Something else I just thought about, guys, so sorry, is the fact that notice she said her mother was dealing with a countess, right? A countess from a noble family, etc. And I was thinking about, why they're called counts and countesses, right? And then when you think about the whole vampire situation, what do you see? Count Dracula or Count Dracul, you know, and when you look into that, I'm just saying, we've been talking a lot about this. Count Dracula, it was a countess who was giving her mother the money. Okay, so think about that. And these are what bloodline noble aristocrat families that she was talking about. So let's keep going. Did we pray? I know we talked about the opening. I think I just let's pray quickly. Father, in the name of Jesus, I cover the eyes and ears of this people in the blood of the Lamb. Father, we pray, God, that you would take over and that you would uh, just illuminate this space with the spirit of truth, and that someone will be helped, that someone would even um, be healed, that someone would be um, delivered, someone will be set free from hearing the knowledge of the truth, that someone will receive closure, that someone will receive confirmation, that someone, Father, will be able, their eyes will be able to come open to see and understand the difference between light and darkness. In Jesus' mighty name, let the truth take center stage and be glorified. In Jesus' name, amen. I just, I cover this stream in the blood of Jesus, because this is a lot. And although I prayed before I got on here, I just want to pray with you guys and cover you too, because when we start digging into things like this, believe it or not, I don't know about on your end, but on my end, things start to happen. I'm God is, I'm a vessel out here that's, you know, publishing, you know what I'm saying? Publishing the truth, and weird things start to happen. And I know no devil in hell can touch me though, because you know, like I said, you roll up over here, and if you ain't here to get me a drink of water or something to eat, guess what? You know what I'm saying? Guess what? Because I was trained by by some of the best. You know what I mean? So roll up over here if you want to. I'm just saying that, because you know, just roll up if you want to. You know what I mean? Like my deliverance mentor says, you know, my angels going, they got their swords drawn. Okay, roll up if you want to. That's all we got to say. Come on, let's go.
The weekends with this being driven there by handlers of the Belgian network and then dropped off in places, picked up by on the side of the road, actually a quiet road, by this politician, and then I would just simply drive with him. And so because I had been trained, I knew how to not be, you know, not call attention to myself. He would check in, and this was very similar each time. It was always very idyllic, beautiful places on the beautiful rivers in Germany, in some small hotel pension, and there's maybe 3 or 4 rooms, and so he would have the whole hotel to himself, but we would sleep in the same bed. And then of course it would be all about pleasing him, and for him, I know that there was a great joy, or maybe pleasure is the right word, in having these people, you know, just fawn all over him and be so grateful and lucky that this very important person is visiting them and is gracing them with his presence. And they would say that, you know, if anything, he would say that I'm his niece. But of course, my German, I mean, he actually taught me to speak German, this politician. I mean, better. I didn't really speak it very well. So when we were alone, it had a lot to do about, but he was also just very happy. He seemed just very happy to be around a little girl that was there for him in this way that I was, you know, just listening. I thought, you know, I thought he was great, and he was a really good man. And that was my training, of course, as a slave, is to flatter him to the max so that he would feel really good about himself. And that's how he got to feel good about himself. And so he clearly enjoyed the physical closeness a lot, and the warmth, and what.
I'll skip a little bit.
That's really all I can say. And so it was decided I was going to be a star in France. This person who wanted to own me as a slave had plans for me, and this was discussed even with other people in the network. So it was decided I was going to be a star in France. Everyone was treating me like a star. Yeah, that's really all I can say. And I had somebody who was giving me facial massages, other massages, but nothing creepy about these massages. There was a photographer, nothing creepy about the photographs, even though I was naked. Everybody was just making me into what I was to become, which was a French singer. There was a singing coach there, actually, and I was, you know, again, there was nothing I could do wrong. Everything was positive. So there was no correction. It wasn't really correction. Everything was, it's like kind of how we are taught now to treat our kids, you know, to just focus on the positive. But I never experienced that before. And so singing these songs, and it was easy. The French came back very easily. Eventually, I think I was the best singer. Beautiful apartments in Paris, the best house on the Côte d'Azur, the yacht, the respect. The platform, you know, everybody would think I was the best singer, actress in the world, and I would get all the magazine out, you know, it was all prepared. And it was just that what I had to do to belong eventually was just too much. I rebelled and was kicked out. Basically, I was reprogrammed, and I was extremely humiliated and punished, and this was reprogramming to make sure I would never become successful. After I was put back in the Belgian network, the Belgians never really discovering what had actually happened to me, used me for their VIPs then, But a young gangster came into the network, and he had power in the Belgian network because he wasn't afraid to use a gun. But eventually, a year later, he ended up rescuing me. So now it's back to my mother driving me to the network. And once this gangster showed up, things changed a little bit because he would keep me longer and so forth than usual, and murdered. And then he had a change of heart. Then, that would have resulted in my being murdered. And then he had a change of heart. And then he made a deal with the boss of the network to get me out. The physical circumstances.
All right, so we're gonna stop here with this clip. I just wanted to kind of show you because the words that she's using, right? Networks. You know what I'm saying? She's being sold. She's being bought and sold on in a network. Okay, and another thing or another place that we hear the word networks is what television networks. So in their world, this is the same thing. So these are the people in the networks, in the and in the governmental, political networks as well, right? And so on and so on. So now that's another thing that God has us praying against is what satanic networks. So now we're going to stop here and we're going to go to the next clip. So let me grab this next clip for you guys. Just keep these things under your hat because this last testimony is it's going to blow your mind. It is going to blow your mind here. We're going to Zachary King. First, I want to show you this conversation with what they call the high priestess of Hollywood. The high priestess of Hollywood. She's the wife of fashion designer Rick Owens, who is also known as the Lord of Darkness in the fashion community. Okay, so we're going to look at, who she is, so on and so forth. Some of y'all might have seen her before. And she's like all the celebrities that we know about today, right? Should I say modern celebrities, you know, um, they are connected to her. They all bow to her, and the musicians too. The entertainment industry, the fashion industry, they all bow to her. Usher, there's the video where she's, with Usher and all this, too. So, um, she blurs the lines a lot between fashion and the occult. Let's look at which one do I want because there's several clips here. Let's go with this one. Okay, let's see if y'all can see. Okay, we're gonna go with this one first. This was a year ago. Okay, this is too long. Hold on, guys. Let's look at this. Oh, sorry, that's the same one. Sorry, that's the same one. Hold on. Let's do this one because I see I know this is a man of God and he's gonna, he's gonna do it justice. Y'all see that? Hold on. Sorry, 1 second. I think I was sharing the wrong tab. Hold on. Okay, here we go. All right. Y'all ready? Let's go.
LeMay Hollywood's Is Michelle LeMay Hollywood's iconic fashion figure behind Rick Owens a full-blown witch?
And do you believe in God?
I don't know what that God is.
Her dark and mystic persona and powerful influence in Hollywood. Is it simply just fashion, or does it go deeper into the occult? Today, we're gonna dive into the mysterious world of fashion designer Michelle LeMay, a force who has been in the fashion industry for decades. In 1944, born in France, Michelle LeMay pursued law before getting into fashion.
I did law school. I became a criminal attorney for a little bit. You know, it's something very useful. Everybody should do it.
She eventually relocated to Los Angeles, California to pursue her dreams in the fashion industry.
And moving to New York, moving to LA, following something I cannot explain why. It was just because of a song or a book or thinking it was the right time. Why do you follow a flow of attraction and try to make a living out of it? And I'm still unable to analyze why I went from law school to be doing striptease. We are doing this in Little Fair with some transvestite women. It was like a world that was very interesting.
It was there in LA where she met the young pattern maker Rick Owens. And together they formed a legendary partnership. Today, LeMay and Owens are known in Hollywood as the ultimate fashion power couple, with LeMay not just being behind the scenes only, but being a driving force behind Rick Owens and his fashion label.
Do you consider yourself more of an artist or a muse?
No, I told you I'm a rhizome.
What makes Michelle LeMay so interesting isn't just her creativity when it comes to fashion. It's the darkness that surrounds her everywhere she goes. Her distinct look, her dark robes, henna-covered hands, heavy jewelry. LeMay has been referred to as Hollywood's dark witch. Her persona blurs the lines between fashion and the occult, causing many to question whether she's just playing a role or if she's actually a full-blown witch.
So I think I just love this amazing, like, eccentric witch, like, aura she gives off. You know, she's changed a lot.
Even though there's no concrete evidence of LeMay practicing witchcraft or being involved in the occult, you can't ignore the witch-like themes present in her work. The Bible often warns us of such behavior. In the book of 1 Kings, we read about a queen named Jezebel who seduced, controlled, and manipulated people around her, including her husband Ahab. And she did all these things to achieve influence and power. The Jezebel spirit craves for influence and authority over anyone she can get her hands on, using charm and deception as tools. Michelle LeMay's influence and connections with some of the most powerful celebrities in Hollywood resemble the manipulative characteristics of the Jezebel spirit. She seems to captivate these celebrities, drawing them into her dark world of dark fashion and occult-like aesthetics. Whether it's through her fashion events or her meetups and gatherings with Hollywood's elite, she seems to embody the traits of control, seduction, and manipulation. Again, Michelle's influence extends to some of the most popular musicians in Hollywood. For example, Kanye West has been associated with Michelle LeMay for years. He has attended her shows and art installations, often expressing admiration for her work. Another celebrity, A$AP Rocky, has once said that LeMay exposed him and influenced him to the art world. She has designed album covers for him and has taken him to many art installation events. Other huge stars like Cardi B and the Migos have often been seen alongside LeMay.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's an offering for the rain god?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. Because they're over there as well.
They're there too.
Yeah.
Oh, and look how beautiful is the sky. It was raining like crazy. Michelle.
What?
For the rain god? Oh my God. Yeah, that's an offering for the rain god?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. Because they're over there as well.
They're there too.
Yeah.
I'll bring it to the rain god.
And look how beautiful is the sky. It was raining like crazy. Michelle used her superpower to clear the rain. Now the sun is beaming. How lucky you guys got, like the rain stopped, sunshine.
Before his tragic death, Offset was seen at LeMay's events and art shows. The dark atmosphere surrounding these influential celebrities and Michelle LeMay connecting together question the depth of her influence, whether it's just an image or if she's projecting something sinister. Is Michelle LeMay using her artistic platform to exert spiritual control over these celebrities? This is exactly what the Jezebel spirit does. In the book of Revelation chapter 2, verses 20 through 23, we are warned about following those who lead others into spiritual corruption, like the Jezebel spirit. The word of God clearly states that we are not to tolerate the Jezebel spirit. Michelle LeMay has crafted a persona that draws people in, even in her old age. With her raspy voice, piercing eyes, and dark allure, she stands out as a figure who exerts a magnetic pull to those around her. Despite her age, again, LeMay continues to exhibit control around those around her. She has created an entire universe around her brand known as LeMayland, which has become a creative hub for like-minded artists and celebrities. As a gatekeeper in Hollywood, through fashion, art, and music, she pulls people into her world, a modern-day manifestation of the Jezebel spirit. The Bible warns believers to steer clear of these type of influences. The book of Ephesians chapter 6 verse 12 clearly states, "We do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, rulers of darkness, spiritual wickedness in high places." LeMay's art, while seemingly innocent to some, could be seen as a gateway to darker spiritual forces. She uses her fashion shows and art installations not to just showcase her clothing, but to create atmospheres that seem almost ritualistic, like a summoning of energy and influence through demonic spirits. LeMay's love for boxing is also intriguing. She has practiced it for almost 35 years.
I've been boxing for at least 35 years.
Oh, really?
I have a very good right. You need more?
This again plays back to the Jezebel spirit and her hunger for dominance. 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 8 urges us to be sober and vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. LeMay's art might be seen as just fashion to some, but it's essential to recognize when something is a spiritual trap. As you watch her career unfold, remember that appearances can be deceiving. The dark art, the mystical persona, and the influence she holds can be more than just aesthetic choices. They could be spiritual tools to lead many people astray. As believers,
all right, we're gonna pause there. I think we got what we needed to get out of that. We showed that because she is known as right now she is known as the high priestess of Hollywood, and her husband is known as the Lord or the Dark Lord or the Lord of Darkness in Hollywood. So you know what I mean? And of course, they are originally European. Okay, so now we're going to go to our last clip, which is about Zachary King. Zachary King. And let's see, there's a part 1 and a part 2 to this. So we're just going to get a little bit of both of those. Let's see which one's first. Okay, this is part 1. Now, just to give you a little bit of background on him, he is an ex-High-Wizard in the in the Satanic occult, or the Bavarian Illuminati, which was the Illuminati. Okay, the Illuminati, right? He's talking about how he got into the cult. He's talking about what his role was in the occult in terms of abortions. This is where it gets into abortions, what they actually do with these fetuses, with these babies, so on and so forth. As I've been seeing this for years and talking about this for years, how I believe that they are eating those babies. They're doing something with those babies that they're not supposed to be doing. And we know the God who is being summoned, or those babies are being sacrificed to, is the God of Moloch, and it is a demonic deity. Some people call him Moloch. It's called Molech, but nonetheless, Molech is the one that appears in the Hebrew Bible. So we're gonna say Molech, okay? And I'm gonna share this with you. I'm going to share this with you first, so you just kind of, because some people don't know, some people don't know. So we're gonna cover everybody here, okay? This is, first of all, Wikipedia. Moloch, Molech, or Molech with a K, is a word that appears. Can y'all see that in the Hebrew? In the Hebrew Bible several times, primarily in the book of Leviticus, and it's known biblically that he's portrayed as a bull-headed idol with outstretched hands over a fire, and that people in those days would sacrifice their children to him, would bring their babies, as sacrifices to him. Okay, and I know that this is a real, demonic deity, because I have done deliverances on people, in Europe, who have online deliverances, virtual deliverances, who had sacrificed their children. In fact, this one lady, she said that her family were cannibals, and they sacrificed her as a child. Her mom and her aunt sacrificed her as a child, and she had been, she was basically on that time, excuse me, on the run from her family as well. And she said that when we got into the deliverance, one of the demons that manifested and started speaking through her to me was the God, or was the spirit of Moloch, and he was saying, she's mine. So these are real demonic deities. It's no joke. It's nothing to play around with. And I'm going to show you some images here so you can kind of see it better. This is what we're talking about. So you just read your Bible, just read your Bible. Here's one with them holding the babies. That's very old, ancient pagan god of child sacrifice. Then you have, these. So now, and notice this one particular, it's called the child eating god, the child eating god of ancient Israel. So this, this spirit was known to not only take the children, but he ate the children. He ate the children. Okay. There's another depiction. Okay. So now when you think about Roseanne Barr's, what she was saying about they eat children, right? Cannibalism is a common denominator here. Okay. So now you're going to hear, we're about to play his testimony now. This is Zachary King. He's an ex-High-Wizard. Just opening eyes to the kingdom of darkness, because this stuff is really happening around us, and we can't play church anymore. This is why God is raising up spiritual warriors right now. We can't play church anymore, because everything is being shaken out. It's being shaken out by God in order for us to deal with it, for us to face it, and for us to take authority over it. And we can't be, we can't be babies, still playing in Tweedledee in the tulips with the, what I'm saying? We can't. Okay, so let's watch this.
Becoming a Satanist, and you've done almost all of them already. He said there's 13 steps to becoming a Satanist, and you've done almost all of them already. All I had left to do, I had to slice my left thumb and bleed onto a document. And on the final page of a 5-page document, I agree to sell my soul to the devil. We're talking, and he says, basically in a nutshell, Satan has chosen you to be the next High-Wizard. And my heart skipped a beat. These guys are sought after by everyone. Actors, rock stars, kings, queens, presidents, diplomat. My first month, I was chosen almost on my 21st birthday. And it was a few days later, I found myself in Bohemian Grove.
All right, guys. This is kind of long. This video is like an hour and 33 minutes, so we are going to be skipping through. But I just we're going to look at see if he got the we're just going to skip through some of these timestamps, how he got initiated, so on and so forth. Okay. First of all, finding out the truth about magic, and this is why I named it The Magic of Hollywood.
It was the very first day of the 5th grade, and this kid came up next to me and he said, "Meet me in the bathroom at the first break." Now, this is 1976. There's no internet. There's no way to look up, hey, if somebody says, "Meet me in the bathroom," don't go. So this kid tells me to meet, and I was like, okay, I don't know any better. So I walk into the bathroom at 10:20, and there's about 49 other kids in there. Boys and girls just milling around, waiting for something to happen. And they tell us that we're going to turn out the lights, and we're going to chant a phrase into the mirror 11 times. And if we do it correct, the spirit of a burn victim will show up in the mirror. Now, none of us believe what we're being told.
The spirit of the burn victim. He doesn't say who that is, by the way, but I know who that is. If any of you remember the movie, oh gosh, I forget the name of the actual movie, but he's referring to Bloody Mary. Okay. Bloody Mary. The whole thing in the movie, it was a horror movie. And, you know, you say Bloody Mary, it's like a chant. You chant her name in the mirror 3 times and she's supposed to appear. Now, why do I remember that so well is because number one, I used to be hooked on horror movies back in the day, but when I was young, and I lived with my grandmother on my father's side. I grew up, you know, with a lot of cousins, and my male they were mostly male cousins because, you know, there was a lot of boys in the family, and so I was a tomboy. And one of the things that they loved to do with me to scare me, they would lock me in the closet and you know, in the dark, because the light switch was on the outside of the door. They would lock me in the dark in the closet, and then they would chant Bloody Mary, you know, and try to scare me. At that time I didn't know what Bloody Mary was, but then when I grew up, you know, more, I saw the movie, and you know, that's how I know. So this is showing you that's not just make believe just because it's a movie. It's a real chant. It is a real you know, they're summoning demons. Okay, so listen to what he's saying.
You know, I haven't ever seen this in a movie or a cartoon. I haven't ever had a friend tell me. I've got an older brother. He didn't tell me he did this. My parents have never told me this story. Never done it at church. Never heard this anywhere. But this kid, same age as me, is telling me this story, and it's like, all right, let's try it and see what happens. So they turn out the lights. That alerts everybody that something's different, because some of us are still scared of the dark. So now all of a sudden we're in a totally dark room, and you know, you're in there with 49 other kids, and we chant the phrase 11 times. And suddenly the mirror flickers and there's a face there that's not one of us. And it looks like the spirit of a burn victim. I mean, his face is melted partially. Some of the upper lip is melted over down to the bottom lip, over the snarling teeth. And 49 kids ran screaming out of the bathroom. In my talks, I say one child, he's an idiot. I call him an idiot because it was me. Stayed in the bathroom and thought, I did this. I chanted this phrase 11 times. And I made this face appear. This is incredible. Now, remember at 10 years...
Pause right quick, guys. I just looked up, was Bloody Mary a burn victim? So I think he's talking about I couldn't remember the movie before, but it was the Carrie movie. So I think he might be talking about the Carrie movie, Carrie. Her name was Carrie, and they burned her on the night of her prom night. Okay. And then she started hunting people. But the Bloody Mary thing was an actual enchantment, or, you know, ritual that was done to me as a child. Okay. I didn't know, you know, to me, it was all, you know, fun and games back then, but I was scared, you know, I won't lie. But yeah, I think I was getting the two confused. So yeah, there we go.
Years old, you're not always the sharpest tack. That mirror land there that I'm looking at is not some distant land that I'm able to tap into. And it's not the room behind the mirror. If you're seeing it in the mirror, it's standing next to you.
Now, this was his faith working in reverse. This was, you know what I'm saying? Whatever you put your faith in, whatever you believe, that the devil is going to use that against you. So we don't believe what he's saying. Okay. Number one. And number two, the reason it worked for him is because he had a child. He was a child, and he had a child's imagination, and the devil plays on your imagination. Okay.
So there's a demon standing next to me that I can't see, that I'm seeing the reflection in the mirror. And notes ended up being sent home because a couple of kids got hurt. Not like bumps and bruises hurt. I mean, broken arm, broken leg hurt. And they didn't care about kids' spiritual well-being. All they knew was that kids were getting hurt and they were going to be sued. So they sent notes home, and I had to take this note to my dad. My dad's in the den. He's reading the newspaper. And my dad had been a sniper in the Marines, and there wasn't a whole lot of love in his voice ever. So usually he gets this note and he just signs it and throws it back at me. But today he read it, and he got this scowl on his face. And in his usual loving tone, he said, "Have you been playing this game?" Being terrified of my dad as I was, I told him the absolute truth. No. So that I wouldn't get caught at school, get suspended for 3 days, and spend those lovely 3 days with my dad, I started playing the game at home. Now, when I played it at school, I played it once a day. Now that I play it at home, I wake up, play the game, go to the bathroom, play the game, wash my hands, play the game, brush my teeth, wash my face, play the game, go out, have breakfast, come back, brush my teeth again, play the game. Before I leave for school, I've played the game 10 times at least. When I get home from school, there's usually nobody there. My parents aren't home till late at night. So I'm playing that game anywhere from 25 to 50 times a day. Every time I play, I get the scary face. But, you know, I attribute the scary face to the law of bulldogs. Bulldogs are one of the friendliest dogs in the world with the ugliest face. They didn't choose their face.
All right, so going to skip through a little bit here, get to the part about, okay, so I've watched this, so I'm going to tell you some of it too, so that way we can get through it quicker, because we've already been here over an hour. So what happened was the figure starts giving him money, okay? This demon that he has summoned and that keeps showing up in the mirror is teaching him magic. And so when he would be walking home from school, or different times, at different times, he would just find money, and money would just always appear to him. So this demon was giving him money, okay? And he was playing this game, because every time he played the game, the demon would start to appear and give him money. So this is what he's about to say now. Now we're going to go to the part where he gets initiated into Satanism.
But a year after you started doing that, or about a year after you started doing that, you got molested by a teacher in school. And I think that's when things really went to a different level. Can you explain why that was so important in your story?
Well, in my school, your time to go to the bathroom is the 3 minutes in between classes. PE is on the far side of the school, outside. When you come inside from that, you've got 3 minutes to make it all the way to the other side of the school to my next class. It's a math class. So I got in there. I really had to pee really bad. So I put my hand up. Teacher calls on me and I say, "Can I go to the bathroom?" "You had 3 minutes in between classes. Why didn't you go then?" "Well, 3 minutes isn't enough time for me to go to the bathroom and come here. I'd have been late. You'd have given me a detention. I have PE before this. I don't have time to make it." So she gives me the pass, and she tells me not to dilly-dally, not to play in the hall. Don't play in the bathroom. Go do your job and come back. Okay. So I take that, walk down to the end of the hallway, and go to the bathroom. When I enter the bathroom, there's a noise in there. It sounds like somebody's breathing hard in the bathroom. But I look under all the stalls, there's no feet. And we have like 5 stalls. And then we have a large handicap stall. So there's nobody at the urinals. I walk to the first door, open it, nobody there. Next door, open it, nobody there. Third and fourth doors, nobody there. This is getting uber creepy because I can hear there's somebody in this room, but I'm not seeing anybody anywhere. I mean, I'm checking the ceiling, the corners, vents, somebody hiding. If somebody had been hiding in a vent, that'd have probably scared the crap out of me. Or if I'd have looked up and seen somebody attached to the ceiling. I've seen all those movies, that would have scared me too. But they're not in any of the stalls. And then I open up the final one, and there's a female teacher sitting on the toilet with her skirt hiked up to her waist.
Okay, we're going to skip this.
I can see her vagina.
Skip this.
Hey, it's me, and I'm sorry for interrupting this amazing story.
So basically what happened is the woman, SA'd him. Okay. And I'm trying to protect your ears as much as I can here. Let's go to the next part. So that was the trauma. He's going to start to talk about how, how he changed after that, right? After he was SA'd, he was, he was traumatized and he began to get depressed. He was just a young boy, right? So we're going to talk about how, that essentially led him into this next part of his life, actually getting initiated into this cult, because you're going to see that the devil was setting him up. The devil was really setting him up here. So let's see.
Crossed 2,000 years ago, and he's no threat to us now. And there and take 5 at a time. Just walk in and take one. You can go in anytime you want, pick one, eat as many as you want. You don't have to worry about it.
Okay, so here we go.
Okay. So at my house, my parents have a 26-inch console TV, and the kid, remember I talked about that there were 2 10-year-olds playing D&D at the same time, and then a bunch of older kids. Well, this 10-year-old eventually stopped coming to school, stopped going to church, stopped playing D&D. So I just assumed he moved away. The next year,
D&D is Dungeons and Dragons, I think.
Being 12 years old, he came back to school. And he came back to church, and he was playing D&D again. And I was like, hey, where'd you move to? And he was like, we didn't move away. I was just homeschooled. And my parents put me in a different church. And I got different friends. And like, oh, so you've been here this whole time and haven't played with me. And now suddenly you've decided you're going to play with me? And he's like, I found a group of people that are really cool. They're really awesome. They play D&D every weekend and they believe magic is real. Why don't you come check them out? Well, I know magic is real. So, okay. So at my house, my parents have a 26-inch console TV. But going over to this place, they had a 50-inch projection screen TV. And my house, you could watch a lot of G-rated movies or a PG-rated movie if it had been vetted by my dad first. But over there, they have R-rated movies, X-rated movies, triple X-rated movies, triple X-rated movies with kids in it my age. And they told me that what happened to me when I was 11 was very sad and terrible and should have never happened to anybody. But now I can get my power back. I can decide to have sex with anybody I want to. Nobody can tell me no. And if somebody wants to have sex with me and I don't want to do it, I can tell them no. And they'll make me famous. They will put me in movies. And people from all over the world will write in and want to see me perform. So I said, yes, I'd love to do that. They showed me a bunch of movies, vids and loops, and still photos.
You see?
And all this is naked kids. Most of them, they're anywhere from 3 to 15 years old. Most of the kids being like 8 to 12. And this looks like fun to me. So they introduced me to 3 girls that are sisters. One is 8, one is 11, and one is 14.
How old are you at that time?
12.
Okay.
And these girls are going to teach me how to have sex. Because I don't know. I don't know anything. And they said,
now, this is a satanic occult family who has access to Hollywood. They're part of the network, okay? And they are initiating him. They initiated him. Notice he said before he was going to church. His family was a church-going family or what have you. And these people, they lived in his neighborhood. They lived in the same, what I mean? Lived in the same neighborhood. And his friend started going there, and suddenly he changed, or not really friend, but the little boy that he was playing the game with before, had disappeared from school. And then when he came back a while later, he had completely changed because, he got involved with these people. So he said that they went to a different church now, right? So these people, what we're getting from that is that they are posing as Christians. They are posing as Christians. One thing else I need to say about him to help bring you some understanding is that he's not completely saved yet. He got out, or he escaped, the cult, but he's a Catholic. Okay, so we know about that, right? So he's not completely there yet, but he's on his quest, you know what I'm saying? He's on the journey, at least, you know what I'm saying? Like he's somewhere, and I'm sure that God will pull him all the way in, especially if we pray for him. Another thing is he is very, very ill. He is very, very ill. He's an old man now, and he is very, very sickly. You'll see like his nurse coming in and out of the room, checking his vitals and giving him, there's one video where you can see like he's connected to all these drips and all this kind of stuff, right? So I don't know exactly what's kind of disease he has, but it's a serious one. Serious one.
You're going to learn with the 8-year-old first. Once she feels that you know everything that she can teach you, you'll move to the 11-year-old, do the same thing, then move to the 14-year-old. When you graduate the 14-year-old, you'll be good enough to be in movies.
Okay, before we move on, because I definitely want to hear the rest of this. The friend that you had told you to go to this place that were really cool. They were playing D&D. And when you went there, they had all this technology, all this stuff that you couldn't do at home. So you thought it was cool. So you started hanging out there. You had no idea that this was a satanic coven, right? To you, it was just people that were nice to you and were letting you do things that your parent wouldn't.
Yeah, they had a pantry that was filled with boxes of candy bars. And I didn't have to ask permission. And you don't have to walk in there and take 5 at a time. Just walk in and take one. You can go in anytime you want, pick one, eat as many as you want. You don't have to worry about it. Like your dad will tell you, don't eat too much or get sick. Well, they don't tell you that. Just go ahead and eat whatever you want. You get sick, you'll know better next time. At my house, we probably got pizza 3 times in my entire life. Over there, I could get pizza every night if I wanted it. Anything that I want to eat, I just tell them what I want, and they'll make it or they'll buy it. The opposite of...
The devil know how to get you, don't he? He knows how to get you. So now, he's going to go into his story of his experience in child pornography, okay, or child corn. We're going to say, as they call it, corn. We know it's not corn. Amen. See here, skip through.
Probably within the first month of being there. And then they gave me these 3 girls to sleep with. Around that same time, I agreed that I wanted to be in these movies. This looked like fun. And suddenly I'm interested in girls. And, not only am I interested in girls, but I have the opportunity to see as many girls as I want to naked in real life. And I was like, "You're not mad?" She goes, "Oh no, this is their job. They know what to do."
This is the girl's
He's
mom.
learning everything. He learned everything with, my younger sister first. So he's pretty much on target right now.
So you weren't the first one, because she knew how long it should take. So that means that she did it to other people before.
Listen to this.
Right.
This is the mom, guys. This is the mom of the girls. It's just mighty funny how a lot of moms, women are selling their children over to this industry. It's crazy.
Kitty porn. It wasn't called child pornography. It was called movies. But they'd been in movies since they were all 3 of them 3 years old. And their mother had been involved since she was 3 years old. And when I was with the second girl, and she's teaching me, everything, we hear the back door open up, and I freeze, because that's the door their mom comes in, and her mom's knocking at the door, and I'm like, "Don't open the door," and she's like, "It'll be okay," and I'm like terrified. I'm thinking her mom is going to be like my dad. It's like she's going to walk in, scream at me, start beating me with something, and kill me. And then once I'm dead, she'll call my dad and tell him what I've done. And then she walks in, speaks to her daughter, speaks to me, talks, invites me to supper, and asks her if I'm learning everything as well as I should, or do I need extra time? And she said, "No, he seems to be pretty on time with everything. He's learning everything. He learned everything with, my younger sister first. So he's pretty much on target right now."
So you weren't the first one, because she knew how long it should take. So that means that she did it to other people before.
Right. And she said, "So how long do you think you'll be with the older sister?" She goes, "Maybe a week or 2. She goes, "I think he's pretty much ready now." And I was like,
so the mom is a handler. And this is a family business. Okay. And she's even trying to rush the process. So apparently, because they're working with this network, or this child corn industry, or corn industry that's using, children, and apparently they're getting paid for it. So, the faster they can get him out there, what I'm saying, into the movies, or, the faster and the more they can get paid.
Like, "You're not mad?" She goes, "Oh no, this is their job. They know what to do. They're all 3 good trainers. You're in good hands." And that she asked me if I could stay for supper. I said, "I have to call my parents," and she's like, "Okay." So I called my dad, and he said, "Yes, that's fine. I'm just like a block behind the house." So I got to stay for supper that night. And then she called my dad and asked if I could stay for a sleepover. But she also has a son. And, I'd be in the son's room. And but my dad said, "Okay, that'd be fine as long as I'm home." This was like a Friday night, so Saturday would be fine, if I come home. And then I said, I don't even know your son." She goes, "I just told your dad that. You can be with any of the girls you want to."
That's another part that's...
Watch your kids. Listen, his dad had no clue what was going on at these people's house. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just speaking to young parents, young, young men, young women. Do not let your kids just go for sleepovers, just go with anybody. You don't know what's going on at their house. Watch your kids very closely. I don't care if it's a church member's house. If you haven't studied them and you don't know anything about them really, and you're just trying to get your kids off your hands so you can go out and have some fun, or so you can have some quiet time at home, some peace and quiet. Don't do it. It is not worth it. Your child's safety is not worth your peace and quiet. It is not worth your, hanging out on a Friday night. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Protect your children at all costs. Protect your children at all costs. When my son, was coming up, my son never went for a sleepover. I can count on one hand how many times he went for a sleepover, and it was with the pastor's, one of our associate pastors' family that lived down the street from us, and we knew them because we moved in around the same time. We bought our home. They came to our housewarming. We went to church together several times a week. So on and so forth. So we knew each other. You know what I mean? I kept their kids. They, and my son would occasionally go for a sleepover. But even in that, what I'm saying, the kids were not, were not the best kids. I'll say that. What I'm saying? They used to bully my son. So even that kind of thing, what I'm saying, you still have to watch your kids, because there was a lot of things that happened that I didn't know happened. Thankfully, my son was not abused or anything like that, but he was bullied because when he was younger, he was a crybaby, or they used to call him a crybaby. I won't say he was a crybaby, of course, because that's my baby, but but I knew him. They did not. Okay. So they didn't understand, such reasons why he would be crying, probably because they were being mean, just to be honest. And everybody is grown now, so everybody can tell the truth. Okay. So yeah, just watch your kids.
It's important to mention because you were hanging out at a satanic coven and your parents were claiming to be Baptist. They were going to Baptist church, but they weren't going. They were forcing you to go. But how did they not figure out that you were hanging out there? And why were they so comfortable letting you be with other people?
Because they knew almost everybody that was a member.
They thought.
They knew almost the entire coven. They just didn't know it was a coven. My deacons from my church are coming into my coven all the time. They're not performing sexually, but they seem to know everybody. And they're talking with everybody. And it made me comfortable to be there because I'd seen them at church for the last 12 years.
Jesus.
So, it seemed like a safe place for me to be. And my parents knew the deacons. They knew, and they didn't like all the deacons.
Oh.
They didn't like everybody. Just because they knew people didn't mean they liked them.
Right.
But they liked them good enough for, it seemed safe for me to be there. It didn't seem like anything bad was ever happening. Both my parents worked. They owned 2 companies. And they weren't investigating what was going on. They just saw it on the surface and thought it was okay. They didn't realize that they were adults until probably I was in my 20s.
Oh, okay.
But when I was 12 years old, this kid came up. There's just an older kid in the coven. Came up to me and said, you're in a satanic coven, right? And he took off running. And I laughed it off. Now, remember what I have as a reference point. I used to watch the Adam West Batman show from the 1960s. When Batman was on the screen, Batman and Robin and Commissioner Gordon, they would be upright. The screen would be upright because they're upright and just and honest. and law-abiding citizens. And when the Joker, the Penguin, Catwoman, the Riddler, whenever they appeared on the screen was crooked because they were crooked. They were dishonest. So there's clear distinction as to who the good guy is and who the bad guy is. Well, in my life, the bad guys to me tell me no. Dad, I want to go see this. No. Dad, can I go here? No. Dad, this event is happening in Fort Myers. It's only 60 miles away. No. No matter what I wanted to do, the answer was no. That's the bad guy.
And so by default, the people that went against your parents or your dad were the good guys.
Right. Yeah, I want pizza tonight. Here you go. I want McDonald's for lunch. Here you go. I'm going to go in this room and I'm going to have a Snicker bar, a Payday bar, and a Zero bar, and Three Musketeers, and Milky Way, and whatever else I want. And no one's telling me you're making yourself fatter. This is unhealthy. You're going to become diabetic.
Skipping through, guys. Let's get to the other part. But lessons, right? Valuable lessons to be learned here. You know what I mean? When you are training your child up in the way they should go, number one, and you are trying to teach them discipline, you know what I mean? You have to stick to discipline, and no matter where they go, you have to learn, you have to oversee that, right? And make sure that they are still following the same disciplines, you know what I'm saying? Unless you allow something else, because the devil knows how to get, he knows how to get children. It's very easy for him. All he has to do is just give them what they want, tell them yes when they know it's normally no, and boom, you know what I'm saying? He knows what he is doing. I'm going to skip through because we're trying to get to the part of him actually selling his soul to the devil here.
And bleed onto a document.
Okay, there we go.
He knows if I leave, I'm giving all that up. I had asked, I said, yes, I did want to become a member. And his face lit up.
Because you learned that this was a satanic coven, and the man you were asking said, do you want to become a member? What are the steps? Because you did become a member. How does that work? Can you explain it?
I had asked, I said, yes, I did want to become a member. And his face lit up. He was excited that I wanted to be a member of it. He had to think that I would say yes, because everything he knows I'm involved in. This is an adult that I trusted. So, I mean, I confided in him. I told him stuff. And he knows that I'm in all these movies. He knows that I'm drinking every day, taking drugs every day, and smoking every day. So he knows if I leave, I'm giving all that up. And they've made sure to give me everything that I asked for and stuff that I don't. They're like, here, try a salad bowl. I was like, what's that? Well, it's just one of every pill. And you just take like 2 and see what happens. Sometimes they enhance each other. Sometimes they can't, cancel each other out. Sometimes you might have a scary experience, but there's a good one, and it'll be positive. So I mean, he knows everything I'm going through. And I was like, sure, what's involved in me joining? He said, there's 13 steps to becoming a Satanist. And you've done almost all of them already. Mm-hmm. All I had left to do, I had to slice my left thumb and bleed onto a document. Now, left thumb, because it's closest to the heart. The document is 5 pages long. You have to bleed onto 3 pages and sign it in your blood. The blood of Jesus washes away all sin, but not mine. and I sign my name to that. Jesus died for everyone, but not me. And I sign my name to that. And on the final page of a 5-page document, I agree to sell my soul to the devil.
So this is what people talk about. We hear stories about people in Hollywood saying they sold their souls and whatever. A lot of people don't believe it. You're saying it's real, you did it, and this is exactly the form. Is it the same for everybody, or was that just for your coven?
That's for my coven.
But you have to renounce Jesus. That's the main thing. You renounce Jesus. And I'll ask you, with what you know now, is it possible to sell your soul to the devil?
No, it's impossible to sell what you don't own.
So it's deception, essentially.
Right.
Satan makes you think that you're selling your soul so he can keep you more bound in whatever he has you in.
Right. In my talks, I usually have somebody sitting next to me, and I'll ask them what kind of car they drive. And then I ask the audience, who out there can legally sell me this person's car? Nobody puts their hands up. I'm like, why not? And because it doesn't belong to us. It's right. That's why you can't sell your soul. It doesn't belong to you. I mean, you may have heard God died for you. Jesus paid the ultimate price for your soul. You don't own it. You can't loan it. You can't lease it. And you certainly can't sell it.
Now, that's what we believe too. That's what I believe too. You can't literally sell your soul because Jesus paid for your soul in his blood. However, the way that they sell this notion right to them is telling them that they are selling their soul over, and because this phrase has become so cliche, you hear more and more celebrities coming out saying, I sold my soul to the devil. I sold my soul to the devil, this and that. Why is the enemy doing that? He's doing that because he wants to ingrain it in their mind what this man just said in the contract. Now, notice this man, look at his age. So this happened when he was a teenager. So this was back in the 60s, late 60s, probably early 70s. He's having to denounce Jesus, right? And he's being told in these contracts that he's signing in blood that, there's no more forgiveness for you. There is no, what I'm saying? Jesus is not coming to rescue you. Jesus, what I'm saying, doesn't care, about you, etc. Right? So they're acknowledging Jesus, though. You notice that they are acknowledging Jesus, but they are making you turn your back on Jesus, right? And then, well, not making you, because you do have a choice, and then telling you that you have sold your soul. That's sealing it in your mind, right? It's searing your mind to make you completely to take you into complete unbelief about Jesus ever, anything regarding salvation. It's completely unbelievable now. I can't be saved. That's what they want you to think. So that's why that phrase is so common, because they want the people to think there's no way out of this. You know what I'm saying? No way out.
But you may have heard that the devil's a liar. I'm here to confirm. If the devil tells you good morning, get a second opinion.
That's a funny quote. But yeah, and that's why you're a Christian today, because you can't actually sell your soul. And
right, what you have done is given your will to the devil.
Okay, so now let's go back into the story that you were telling from that vantage point of when you were 12. You became a member by signing this because you had already done the other steps. And right. I think they gave you a robe at that time. So robes are something that we see in like Satanism, satanic covens. If you see a movie on TV or whatever, there's robes. There's usually a black and a red robe. What do they mean? And what's the difference between them?
Well, you excluded one. There's a white robe.
Okay.
The white robe is the innocent person. And that's what you wear when you first come into the room. They'll have a big coven meeting where they're welcoming you in. And you come in a white robe, and they baptize you full submersion in a big, it looked like an upside down demon skull. And you get baptized in that, and it's human blood, pig's blood, and human urine. So they pull you up out of that, and you go into another room and you take a shower. And when you're in there, you get changed into a black robe with a red inverted pentagram. And you come out with the cowl raised up, and it signifies you've been baptized into a world of darkness. And they read the document off that you signed the night before. They show your signature, and you also pull off the Band-Aid and show your thumb, so people see that it's your thumb that was sliced. So it is your blood. And then after everything, they give you a wheel. It's about this big around, and it has a crucifix in the middle. And you can spin it. You spin it upside down, signifying human sacrifice. You grab the arms of Jesus and break them downward, denouncing Christ. And then you have an orgy to celebrate that you're now a Satanist. But the reality is you're celebrating that one day you're going to die and go to hell. And they tell
guys, orgies again, orgies again, you know? So these are satanic rituals. The orgy is to celebrate that you're now a Satanist. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And when he was talking about the process from the white robe to the black robe, etc., and the baptism, think about these music videos. I haven't seen, the only ones that I've actually seen are when other, men of God are sharing, for the purpose of educating the church, right? So I have seen some of them, like what's her name, the one that danced for Kamala Harris's presidential campaign, Megan something, and then was it Doja Cat, so on and so forth. But I do remember back when I was watching, videos, Beyonce and everything, she did the same thing. So, they're acting out in their music videos these rituals that they already did to show to the public in hiding in plain sight, of course, hidden in plain sight, and as a mockery, right? To show that they're now on the dark side.
Tell you that this document is going to be forever entwined with this wheel in a vault, and your soul is attached to this. And when you die, of course, Satan will come and claim your soul. And then they gave me, because I'm addicted to magic. I love magic. And I'm always reading whatever I can find, books or magazines, or there's esoteric, weird magazines that talk about magic that they sell in the back of adult bookstores. And so I'm just embracing everything, just absorbing everything that I can. When I officially came into the coven, everybody there that practiced magic shared their Book of Shadows with me. Now, Book of Shadows is your personal book where you write all your spells. So you might have a different way. You might do the exact same spells that I do, but you do them a different way. You do them how they work for you. So then I would read your spell book to see how you do stuff, because there might be stuff in there that I like, where I'm doing my love spell a certain way and I don't like it, but I like the way you do yours.
He said love spell. He's talking about sex magic. Okay.
So I incorporate some of your magic into my magic. And they gave me the red robe. And the red robe is for the mage. That's the official person that does the magic of the coven. So anybody in the coven is allowed to practice magic. But the person with the red robe when somebody comes in and gives my coven $10,000 to do a magic spell, it's the mage that does it. Now, you can request a particular mage. There might be 5 of us. Or you could just request a mage. And in either case, it's the guy in the red robe that's going to do it. So I never wore my black robe. You know, I wore it when I came out of the room after I'd been baptized, after I'd been taking the shower. You know, I had the black robe for maybe 10 minutes on me. And then when I was done, when I was officially a Satanist, they had me take that one off and put on the red one.
Pause again real quick, because I'm thinking now about the black robe priest that Nathan Reynolds talked about, right? And how the black robe priest is a real thing, right? And that they again, you know, it was a sexual perversion, pedophilia. I don't want to get flagged, and orgies. Okay, so you notice he said once he came out in the black robe, now you know he could celebrate that. You celebrate with the orgy that you're now a Satanist. The black robe priest were they used children. They practiced cult prostitution. So they had cult prostitutes, and the cult prostitutes were children. Okay, that's what they were calling cult prostitutes. And that came from Nathan Reynolds, who was raised in one of those families, right? One of those occult families. And he broke all that down on last week's episode. So go back and catch that if you missed that. I noticed that there are a few more of you here, so please share if you can. We want to get this information out. I'm spreading, you know, what I learned. This podcast is called Almost False Podcast. So I'm learning, you know, and I'm sharing with you guys. So please pass it along and share as well. Like I said, I'll put the links, excuse me, the original links in the description, because I believe in giving credit to whom credit is due. This is not my video content that we're watching. It's not my original interview with him that we're watching. Just for some of you who have the 1 or 2 people who have sent me comments saying, hey, that's not yours, you know, like, duh, you know, I'm doing a review. So, you know, I'm using it as an educational tool, and that's fine, because they do allow it. And yeah, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe.
Okay, so pretty much as soon as you got into the coven as an official member, you got the red robe, which means that you're a mage. You would do the magic spells for the coven. You have a book. Your book is called Abortion is a Satanic Sacrifice. And so that's when we're going to get into sacrifices and abortions, because that was a big part of what you were doing as a mage. When did you perform your first abortion, and why is that a big deal?
When I was 14 years old, it was announced that we were going to, all the male members, 12 to 15, were going to sleep with a female member that was 19. And this was her second pregnancy. And she was what's called a breeder. And a breeder intentionally gets pregnant so she can have an abortion. And I was like, all right, that's cool. And then I went home to look up abortion because I didn't know what it was. I knew that my parents one time whispered the word. So I knew it was a dirty word, but I didn't know anything about it. And my dictionary at home was so old, it didn't have the word abortion in it. So I went to the library and found 2 books, both of them 2 inches thick. And I'm not reading 300 pages to find out what an abortion is. So I go back to my coven and ask them, hey, I've got to commit an abortion in 9 months. What's that? And he goes, oh, you're killing a baby. I was like, is that legal? He goes, in the womb, legal. Out of the womb, murder.
So Satanists consider this a baby.
Yes.
And why do they do it so much?
Well, our coven did, we have everything from the simplest of spells all the way up to the most complex spell, which is a hex. And in a hex, if you're going to do a hex, you need to do an abortion with it. If you're going to do something that somebody's willing to pay big money for, you need guaranteed success. So to guarantee your success, you've got to give the devil something he wants. You give the devil something he wants, he grants your request. What he wants is the murder of a baby. So you murder a baby, do it for the devil grants your request, your act is successful.
And this is what we see in ancient cultures with child sacrifices. They would sacrifice their children to have the favor of the gods or whatever favor they wanted to do that. And now they do the same thing, but they package it as something that it's not a baby, but it's exactly the same practice that he used to do, right?
It would have been back in ancient times, Baal or Moloch was who they would sacrifice to. And now, I never understood. My dad used to say that people talked out of both sides of their mouth. And I never understood what that meant until 2015, the 15 secret David Daleiden videos came out about Planned Parenthood. And out of one side of their mouth, they say it's a lump of cells, it's just some tissue. And out of the other side of their mouth, they're saying we're selling baby body parts.
Yeah.
How do you get baby body parts out of a lump of cells?
Yeah.
Right.
How do you get a brain, a heart, lungs, kidneys, spleen, liver? How do you get those things out of a lump of cells? Don't you need a baby to get baby body parts?
And it checks out.
And so you got one side of their mouth going, it's not really a baby. And out of the other side of their baby, we're getting rich selling baby body parts. And it's like, really? Somewhere there's a disconnect because you're admitting that you're selling baby body parts.
Yeah. So we started talking about this because you did your first abortion at 14 or 15 around that time, because you talked about they had this party and then you were going to abort the baby. It was planned. This lady, you called her a breeder, the 19-year-old. She wanted to do that for whatever spell they were going to do. What was your role as the mage?
Just notice the connection between the witchcraft spells and hexes, which is, he's saying that's the, that is the highest level spell or whatever, and the abortions, right? And the babies are being offered to the gods, okay? Molech, Baal, he mentioned those two, right? So the gods that they worship in Hollywood, the gods that they worship in these industries, and even other, industries, the, governmental agencies, governmental spheres, so on and so forth. They, what I'm saying, the God that they worship, if they are not worshiping Jesus, what I'm saying, if they're not, and I don't go by what people say, I go by what people do, right? A tree by the fruit that it bears. Nonetheless, because the enemy knows how to masquerade very, very well. Nonetheless, we will say, that their God is Mammon. It is the God of Baal, right? And any of them that are pushing for abortions, they are pushing for pro-choice, and they are fighting, the banning of abortion. And we see that mostly on the democrat side of the political, of the, excuse me, the political arena. However, it goes both ways, what I'm saying? Because no, we can't say that one is better than the other, because we see both doing weird, stupid stuff. But this is what they are doing. They're offering these babies to the gods that they worship in exchange for, same thing as it was in antiquity, ancient times, in exchange for wealth, in exchange for power, okay, in exchange for influence or to maintain their influence. And in these cases also, when it gets to like, government levels, in exchange for rulership, because they want to run the world. Now, I wanted to also mention this woman who was the founder of Planned Parenthood. If you know about her, great, but some people don't. Her name was Margaret Sanger, and she was the founder of Planned Parenthood. She established that in 1921. She was a birth control activist and sex educator who opened the first birth control clinic in the U.S. in 1916 in Brooklyn, New York. Okay. It says her work led to the creation of the first birth control pill and was instrumental in making contraception a widely accepted practice in the U.S. And she has actually died now. She actually passed away, and that's something to also take note of, that when they pass away, the kind of like the changing stop king the changing of the guards, like who took over from there, etc. But now of course we know that many Planned Parenthood uh, um, organizations have shut down and so on and so forth. But she died in 1966. September 6, 1966 is when she died. So she was a sex educator. That means, she was not Christian. And I have seen video footage of her sharing, why she did what she did and so on. And it's not pretty. So this was not a woman of God. She was not, I don't care how they try to paint her like she was this great woman. She wasn't, she was demonically driven. She was demonically possessed, you know, and she was trying to teach people how to still have sex outside of marriage. And who cares if you get pregnant? Because if you get pregnant, guess what? We'll take that baby from you. We'll take the baby. And we know what they were doing with those babies. Lots of stories about Planned Parenthood clinics, horror stories about what they were doing with those babies. These are not conspiracy theories. These are conspiracy facts. Okay, so do your research. For the sake of time, let's keep going.
They originally told me that it was just a lump of cells. They're just going to scrape out some cells. They're going to vacuum it up with a little vacuum tube, and I'm not going to see anything. But that I needed, for me to do the hex, I needed to get blood on my hands. So it would probably be the mother's blood, and you're not there to hurt the mother. Just get some of her blood and put it on your hands. Then go do your X. Okay. And so they had me practice, though, with a scalpel and an apple or an orange or a ball of Play-Doh, and practice stabbing each one of these things. And that'll be this lump of cells that you stab. And, just getting blood on your hands. So don't worry about it. It'll be simple. And so that's what I did for 9 months. I went and participated in the orgy with everybody else. And, she was telling me that this was her second pregnancy. And I was like, what's the goal here? And she said, we have as many abortions as our body can handle. And the more abortions we can do, the higher position we get in the end. And that's what it's all about, is power and money.
My God.
And if she can have 15 abortions, she'll be on top of the world.
And that's why they fight so hard for it. Some people probably are listening to this and they don't believe it. But there was this story a few years ago. I know that you're aware of it. This satanic church that I think they filed a lawsuit saying that abortion was their religious right.
That's the Satanic Temple. And that was, I think, in Minnesota. They have opened their own abortion clinic in New Mexico. So it's like the Samuel Alito abortion clinic or something like that. Named after, I don't know if it's named after him or his mother, but they're saying his mother should have aborted him, and then Roe versus Wade would not have been overturned.
This is heavy stuff, and I feel like the mothers, especially if some moms have had abortions, are definitely going to relate to how serious of an issue that is. But let's go back to, I guess, your story.
Really quickly there, I just want to shed some light on what he's saying, because when women have abortions, you are inviting a spirit of murder into your life. And I've done so many deliverances on women who have had abortions, and there's a common thread with them. They're always battling that spirit. They're battling that spirit. And not only that, but a lot of times it tends to be generational. So somewhere, again, an ancestor, someone, in their bloodline, did a ritual sacrificed, a child or so on, or even sacrificed future generations in exchange for, something they wanted. Right. And then, therefore, and they will say exactly what they want, or you go to a witch doctor or so on and so forth. They'll tell you exactly what you need to do. And so therefore, they're dedicating the babies in that bloodline. Any baby that comes up in that bloodline, dedicating it to the demons, right? Dedicating it to the deity. So now, when someone becomes pregnant, in the spirit world, they are coming. Those demons are coming to take that baby. So that's why we see, women, who are just continually like losing children. You know what I'm saying? They're always having miscarriages and so on. Or the devil will put it, the enemy will put it in the young girl's mind. Let's have an abortion. It's like the first thing they think of, almost. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not ready for a child, want to have an abortion, so on and so forth. Or the man that they're with will suggest it, try to pretty it up or what have you, and then convince her to have an abortion. Those scenarios are not just incidental, coincidental. That's strategic. That is strategic, because those demons of murder now have a right to take those children in the spirit world, and they will come for those children. They will come for those children. They will. I even saw an African movie, a Nigerian movie, Christian Nigerian movie. I don't know if y'all know. Ever heard of the Winlows, right? The one that made the movie Prophet Suddenly. But then one of their actresses, I don't know if she's a family member or a friend or what have you, but her name is Laurel. She played, the evil witch in Prophet Suddenly. Well, she's doing her own movies and things like that now too. So, but they came out with another movie where this family was all in a satanic cult, right? And they were a coven, and they were eating babies every time this woman, like, for example, one of the women had daughters. She had like three daughters actually. And 2 or 3 daughters, I don't remember. But anyway, they had to hide their pregnancy from their mom. They could not tell their mom that, when they were pregnant, with their husband, because she would have to tell the coven because of the agreement that they had, the blood covenant that they had. And then the demons would always come and take the babies, and the daughters would have miscarriages. And when the one time that she didn't tell that the daughter was pregnant, they punished her by killing the mother and the daughter and the baby in the womb, in a car accident. So these freak accident happened or what have you. So, these, even though it's being portrayed in film, it is a real life, thing that's happening, and it's a spiritual thing. It is a spiritual thing. So in his case, he's doing these abortions as part of magic spells, to, what I'm saying, for the people in the industry or the networks to be able to achieve what they want to achieve. And notice they are paying high dollar for it. They're paying high dollar.
Because that abortion, I think you performed at 15, but eventually you left and went to college, and you had to leave your coven. But you still were a Satanist, and you wanted to find a new one. How did you find a new coven in this new place you were living in?
Well, I was thinking that this coven was, in my hometown, there were 2 satanic covens. One had people that I didn't like, that was like, for lack of a better term, white trash. They were just bad people. And it made sense that they would be in a satanic coven. Bad people joining a bad group. My group seemed to be nice people. Ultimately, both groups were Satanists. But you had to be in the know to know these satanic covens were there. I didn't know. If that kid at 12 years old had not recruited me, they'd be like, oh, well, it didn't work. Church to control the people, to make the people want to donate money to keep the devil at bay, or, for whatever reason, that they believe in science and logic, even though science and logic point to God.
Right.
They're obviously illogical because they're not seeing that connection. And they believe that they want you to keep your laws off their body. They want to worship whoever they choose to worship in their own way, and do it all their way, and not have anything to do with religion.
Okay, so let's go back to where we were at in your story. You were looking for a coven, and the only thing you could find, well, the first one you went to was just a bunch of kids doing like stupid stuff. They weren't actual Satanists, but you knew that magic. And
then Roe versus Wade would not have been overturned.
This is heavy stuff, and
named after, I don't know if it's named after him or his mother, but they're saying his mother should have aborted him, and then Roe versus Wade would not have been overturned. And this is like,
we're gonna go to the part now about him becoming a high wizard, okay? Because this can get long, as you know. It's already this is a long stream. I'm probably gonna have to split it into 2 parts. So yeah. Let's see. Becoming a high wizard.
And this is like 1984. The AIDS crisis is in full swing. There's no way I'm jumping on this bed. Like, you guys have fun, knock yourself out. I'm gonna go over here and look at something else.
Okay, so
and I'm standing there talking to this guy, and he kind of looks like,
so he gets invited to an occult, a party, one of the parties that they love to have, right? And this happened to him. Let's try to get to the beginning of that part.
They're playing a live show, and welcome me inside. They hold the door open, and there's going to be a party, and a lot of stuff happens at the party. So come prepared for whatever. And I'll probably have to park about 2 miles away. And the party starts at 9 o'clock at night. But people do get there sooner than that. So I went, it was about 9 o'clock at night when I got there. I drove all the way up to the building, and it's about the size of a super Walmart. And the whole building is shaking. Like you can tell there's like a huge party inside. And there's parking lots all around, but every parking lot is packed. So I had to drive about 2 miles away and then walk back. When I get back, I walk up and they ask me for my name. So I gave them my name and my ID. And they searched the list, found my name, checked me off, and welcomed me inside. They held the door open, and I walked inside and walked in a maze of black curtains. So you walk in, you walk through like 5 little corridors of black curtains. And then the curtain opens up and you're standing there and there's like 10,000 people in this room. And there's like a DJ set up with people dancing. There's a rock band further in that are playing a live show. There's benches and couches and chairs, people sitting there talking. There's a table set up with pizza. There's another table set up with snack foods. And there's another table set up with beer. There's another table set up with hard liquor. And then there's tables set up with different drugs. So if you want to do mushrooms or smoke weed, there's a table for that. You know, if you want to snort cocaine, there's a table for that. If you want to shoot up with heroin, there's a table for that. You know, if you want to take MDMA and acid, there's a table for that. And, you know, I'm watching the entire room. I'm walking all over the place. In the very back, far right corner, there's 5 or 6 giant beds all pushed together and about 20 people on them having sex. Everybody's naked. And this girl looks up and says, "You're free to join us. Just take off all your clothes and join us." You know, and this is like 1984. The AIDS crisis is in full swing. There's no way I'm jumping on this bed. You know, like, you guys have fun, knock yourself out. I'm gonna go over here and walk.
Sorry, guys. I don't know what was said when I was gone, but I heard something about sex in a bed or what have you. Sorry, I'm trying to monitor this as much as I can. But I did hear the part about the party, you know, and people were on this giant bed. Now, what does that remind you of? The Diddy parties, right? So this is just telling us, you know, that nothing new. There's nothing new. They are perpetuating, they are rehearsing, you know, things that have been done from years and even centuries prior. Okay, centuries prior. So all these things, you know what I'm saying? It's crazy. It's really, really crazy. Let me see if I can skip through this.
Look at something else. And I'm standing there talking to this guy.
Oh, okay. Well, go ahead.
And he kind of looks like he's just alone and not quite sure what to think either. So I come up and strike up a conversation with him. Now, let's go back to me being 13 years old. When I was 13 years old, I was at a sleepover one night. And I got up about 3 a.m. to go to the bathroom and get a drink of water. And I saw this guy walking through the house. Never seen him before or since. But he's wearing a tuxedo, top hat, had a wand in his hands, and corpse paint on his face. He looked like a member of KISS wearing a tuxedo. And I was like, that is the coolest look ever. I don't know what that is, but I like it. And he looks at me, sees me, winks at me, keeps going. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. So I go to the bathroom, get my water, go back to bed. Next day, I approached somebody and I said, hey.
That was a spirit that he saw.
I saw a guy here last night in a tuxedo with paint on his face. You look like a member of KISS wearing a tuxedo. Who was that? He goes, you dreamed that. What? You dreamed that. That didn't happen. Oh. So now my coven's lying to me. No problem. I'll just lock that away somewhere in here. And one day I'll find out who that was.
So now we go back to the party.
Well, I'm at the party. I'm 18 years old. And similar look, not the same guy, but a similar look walks past me. Tuxedo, top hat, wand in his hand, corpse paint in his face. And I grabbed this guy and I was like, who is that? What is that? How can I do that?
See how the enemy sets people up? He saw that spirit appeared to him years prior, right? And then suddenly he meets the person. You know what I mean?
And he was like, well, who ran your coven? I said, we had a huge coven, 125 to 150 members at any given time. And we're run by 13 high priests and priestesses. And the mage does the official magic. The mage wears the red robe. And he goes, okay. He says, well, we have 1.1 million members worldwide. And we're run by a CEO and board of directors. And the High Wizard does the official magic. That was the High Wizard. I was like, whoa, how can I do that? You have to get the devil's attention. It's said that the devil handpicks the High Wizard. So, and I was like, how do I get his attention? He goes, I don't know. I'm not a High Wizard. So I knew that I had to get tied in with the High Wizards. I know that abortion is what the devil wants. So I know abortion will get the devil's attention. So I decided that I was going to get tied in with the abortion group, let them know that I used to do them with my previous coven, and start getting in with them and doing as many as I can do. So I managed to do about 5 or 6 of them over the next few years, like 2 or 3 years. And I got to talk with some of the High Wizards. And I told them that I wanted to be a High Wizard. And they asked me why. And I said, well, I've been practicing magic since I was 10. I verified that it worked at 10. I then joined a satanic coven and became the mage. So I wore a red robe with a black inverted pentagram. And I did that from 13 to 18. And then I went in search of this coven. And I said, I saw a High Wizard when I was 13 years old, but I didn't know that's what I was looking at. And since I figured out that's what you are, I would love to do your job. Just because I hear you guys practice magic all the time, and I love magic, and I'm good at it. And he goes, well, if you're going to be the High Wizard, you got to be good at it. You have to have at least 90% accuracy.
Before we continue, can you explain what that is, the success rate, and how that's calculated?
Once you do a magic spell, all stats are kept by the World Church of Satan in the office. There's people that follow your stats exact. You have 90 days for a spell to work. So let's say I did a spell for you and you paid my coven $100,000 for you to make $10 million, which may not be entered as $10 million. It may be just entered as a large sum of money. I have 90 days for that spell to work. Well, let's say, though, that it takes 91 days. On the 91st day, you get $10 million. I failed at my magic. That goes against me because it took 91 days instead of 90.
So this counts as a failure. It's not even, you don't get like half points because it came after.
Right.
This is total failure.
Total failure. Now, see, by the same token, if it works in one day, you don't get extra credit either. You know, you get, it was successful.
The devil don't play fair, do he? But you know what? It'll never, ever, ever, ever work over here. It'll never, ever, ever, ever work on us. Amen. Because we got a prayer life, and our prayer life is a fire life. Baby, you finna get the heat, okay? Roll up over here if you want to. That's all we got to say. Jesus. But you see why the Bible says that the children of this world are wiser in their generations than the children of light. He's talking about the children of darkness, obviously, and it's saying that, you know, they are so strategic and so organized. The devil's kingdom is so organized and so strategic, not just in the spiritual realm, because what they plan and what they coordinate in the spiritual realm, they manifest it in the physical world. So now look at how they have this thing designed. You know, that they have, you know what I'm saying? They have a point system. You know, you have to get, you know what I'm saying, 99%, etc. And you have 90 days, and if it's the 91st day, you missed it. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I mean? Highly structured, well structured, and well designed system that they have going on, network that they have going on. And guess who the clients are that he's talking about? These are high profile celebrity uh what do you call it, the people on execs, record executives, so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? High level, high profile people, let's just say that, celebrity and otherwise, you know, politicians, you know, nobles, aristocrats, so on and so on and so forth. And for those of you who are, you know, popping in, we're about to close out, but this is the testimony of an ex-satanic high wizard by the name of Zachary King. Zachary King. And now there's a part 2 to this where he talks about how he escaped the Illuminati, and how he became a Christian. But, you know, he believed, well, Catholic Christian. Okay, that's what he's that's where he is right now. We know that he's, you know, still got some ways to go here. But this is how he became a satanic high wizard. And there's a part in here where he talks about Bohemian Grove.
It's just like a restaurant in Dubuque, Iowa or something. You know, queens, presidents, diplomats.
See?
You don't have to do it. They gave me this light blue book, and it was called the High Wizard Handbook. And it's just a bunch of drawings. So on the cover is a picture of a high wizard that's been drawn. And then you open it up, the first page says, no one can tell you what to do. And that was like my favorite day. I was like, no one? He said, look, once you're the high wizard, it's up to you whether you do the magic spell or not. We may come to you and say, somebody paid us $1 million. Here's the spell. You can look at it, decide whether you're going to do it or not. You don't have to do it. There's 9 others of you guys. And there's between 2 and 5 in the world. The number could be as low as 1 or as high as 10.
So Satan picked you to be one of the 10 or however many number, but maximum of 10 high wizards in the world. And from what I understand, these, in terms of on this planet, these are the 10 most powerful people on Earth, right? Pretty much.
Magically speaking, yes. And, you know, these guys are sought after by everyone. Actors, rock stars, kings, queens, presidents, diplomats.
I see.
Everybody that wants a magic spell and knows that they can get one from somebody that is reputable and it works. I mean, if you really want to spend $200 on a spell on eBay, you can do that if you want to. You have no guarantee that's going to work.
Jesus.
You know, our work isn't exactly 100% ironclad. I mean, you may ask for $1 million and get 100,000, but you got something. 100,000 is better than zero you're going to get on eBay.
And so you become the High Wizard, Satan handpicks you, and that's when we get into the Illuminati and Bohemian Grove and Bilderberg Group.
My first month, I was chosen almost on my 21st birthday. And it was a few days later, I found myself in Bohemian Grove. Now, when I heard I was going, I was thinking, I wonder if they're going to take me to a bar that's called the Bohemian Grove. Like, is it a real place? Is this like a restaurant in Dubuque, Iowa or something? You know, I have no idea. And then, you know, I ended up, you know, the plane lands in California. And then we landed in San Francisco. And we went to, I think it's in Monterey. And, you know, it's like 2,600 acres of redwood trees. Like, this does not sound exciting. And my first day, I'm dressed. I travel with a makeup artist, and she also gets me dressed. And if you're female, you're not really supposed to be there. So my makeup artist is a female. Some of the wait staff are females, and they all have to sign non-disclosure agreements.
So you're talking, no females are allowed in Bohemian Grove.
Right. So, but like I said, my makeup artist is a female. So I have my own trailer when I'm there. And she puts on my makeup and helps me put my costume on. And out the door I go. This is my first official job.
Your first job as a High Wizard was to go to Bohemian Grove?
Right. And just so in case your listeners are curious, what does a High Wizard look like? Because I've described it's a tuxedo of some sort, a corpse paint on your face, a top hat, and a wand or a cane. I chose a cane because I thought, let's bring a little class. Because a wand looks hokey. It looks like, I don't know, it just doesn't look real.
Yeah, I'll put a picture up if I remember for people to see kind of what it looks like.
If you go to YouTube and look up the artist Pink, the official video of Like a Bill, she has a High Wizard that appears in her video 4 times. The final 2 times, he's in the middle of a ritual or a spell. And so I step out the door dressed like this, and I don't know, do these people see High Wizards on a regular basis? I don't know. Am I the first one they're going to see? Or am I old hat? Is everybody used to seeing me? And I stepped out the door, walked about 10 feet. Some guy came up to me, shook my hand, welcomed me to the Grove, and said he's been waiting for me. And I said, who am I to you? He said, you're the High Wizard. You're the guy that makes all of our dreams come true. I mean,
He's at Bohemian Grove, and they're telling him, you're the guy who makes all our dreams come true. Notice he was one of 10 High Wizards, the only 10 in the world. Okay, the only 10 in the world. We're looking at one of them that God rescued. So, and when you wonder, why there's so much witchcraft activity, going on in, what I'm saying? Big reason here. We're looking at it.
Exactly be the dream I'm looking for, but I know the routine. So, all right. So while I was there, I met with the Illuminati. Now they have a Mr. Black and a Mr. White. Now, the first time you meet them, nothing special, but the next time you meet them, Mr. Black and Mr. White are not the same Mr. Black and Mr. White.
What do you mean?
Mr. Black and Mr. White change. Every time you meet them, it's a different Mr. Black and Mr. White. But every time you speak to them, I don't know if what you're saying is being recorded or if they take excellent notes. But let's say you met with one of them today. 2 weeks from now, you met with two different Mr. Black and Mr. White. 3 weeks from then, you met with another set of Mr. Black and Mr. White that you've never met before. And you want to talk about a conversation you had 2 Mr. Black and Mr. Whites ago, but you don't know if they know about it. So you bring up, listen, about a month ago, I was having a conversation, and they'll start telling you about the conversation. Well, you said this, and we said that, and you said that, and we said this. Well, which part are you having a conversation? Which part do you mean? So I tell them the part, and they jump right into where they were, except it wasn't them. And they tell me the conversation, and they're able to tell me, the part that I'm having a problem on, I'm remembering it incorrectly. And they tell me what was said.
I have a question. Are they humans?
They are humans.
How's that possible?
I don't know how that's possible.
Thank you for watching part 1 of Zachary's story. We ran out of time and had to schedule a...
I got to have fun. I got to party with rock stars. After you're in there a certain number of years.
So you were part of the World Church of Satan, which at the time was the biggest church, biggest satanic church in the world. And what was your role exactly in there?
I was the High Wizard. So for the first 3 years, I was trying to be the High Wizard. And I would get in with the groups that did abortions, which you had to get in with a High Wizard. And I would let the High Wizard know, I want to do your job. And they would just smile or just laugh, because they knew that I'm seeing it on the outside of them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like when you see a rock star and you see him being chased by girls and driving a Lamborghini, you're not seeing it from his perspective.
Right.
He's not having all the fun you think he's having.
Mm-hmm.
You're just seeing it from the outside, think, I want that job. He's doing the official magic for the coven. He's getting to drive a Lamborghini. He's got the world in his palm. That's not how he sees it, but I didn't know how he saw it. When I first joined, I got to do magic. I got to go to Bohemian Grove. I got to work with the Illuminati. I got to travel the world. I got to have fun. I got to party with rock stars. After you're in there a certain number of years, you have to travel. You have to go to Bohemian Grove. You have to party with rock stars. You have to travel. You have to do magic. This isn't fun anymore. The stuff that they made the most fun in the world for you, which was magic, was no longer fun to do. Now I'm doing magic now because I'm addicted to it. I travel because I have to.
Illuminati. So I would like you to explain how the World Church of Satan was or still is linked with the Illuminati. Can you kind of give an explanation of all of that together to kind of give us an idea of how these two things are connected?
So the Illuminati is like, in a sense, they're like their own satanic coven. But there's not enough people in the Illuminati to run the world. So they need foot soldiers. And for foot soldiers, they use satanic covens and the Freemasons. They changed the way their structure was so that their hierarchy is set up like Freemasonry.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that there's a lot of people that when I started talking and you mentioned Freemasons, or I mentioned Freemasons or Illuminati or Bohemian Grove, they switched the channel.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, conspiracy theory stuff, I'm not interested. However, there's a lot of more people that went, oh, conspiracy theory, let's pay attention. They will almost literally pull the levers and push the buttons of every political action that happens generally in first world countries, but they will do a lot of stuff in third world countries because they can promise things and they can deliver. You know, you use our program, you do the things we say to do, we'll help get you out of poverty. You know, we'll donate a certain amount of money to your country, you know, or we'll teach you how to plant crops. We'll show you something that grows.
Out the way. But let's go back to you being a high wizard. We talked about you doing the official magic of the coven. What is the most powerful spell a high wizard can do?
A hex.
Okay, and how does that work?
Okay, so in any regular spell, let's say you come to my coven, you have a high-end luxury car dealership, and you sell Lamborghinis, Porsches, Rolls-Royce, Mercedes, but there's another place that you want to own, and they sell more than you and better cars than you, but the guy just laughs in your face. He refuses to sell. No matter how much you offer, he refuses to sell. So you come to the coven and you say you want something done. What can you do for me? What can we offer you? And we tell you, we can give you anything from a frozen glass of water in the freezer, which is like the most basic spell, to the evil eye, which is not, it sounds a very easy basic spell, but it's not. It's more complex, to potions, elixirs, chants, incantations, all the way up to an abortion, which is a hex. And you're desperate. You've tried everything with this guy. Nothing works. What will happen if, let's say you paid $10 million and you got a hex? What's going to happen? Well, you're going to end up with the business, most likely. We can't guarantee how it will happen. It will happen however the devil wants it to happen.
I'm just drawing a comparison or a parallel here between the word coven, right, and what he's describing. The reason why they're doing these magic spells is often because of covetousness, which is one of the 10 commandments that the devil knows, God doesn't want us to do. He does not want us to covet. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's, possessions, right? Covetousness is one of the, it's one of the 10 commandments, and while many people may say, well, New Testament, we're not under the law anymore. God never said anything about his commandments, and not only that, but Jesus did not come to abolish the law. He came to fulfill it. So we are still not supposed to, you know what I'm saying? Um, but when it comes to his commandments, you know, God didn't do away with the 10 commandments, and the devil knows that. So he uses that in his playbook. Notice the petty stuff that they are doing these things for. Covetousness, you know? And when and previously, earlier in the stream, when we were talking about Jezebel and everything, Ahab, her husband, what happened? He was coveting. See, the devil's always in the word. That's why we got to be in the word. He was coveting someone else's vineyard, another man's vineyard. He wanted that vineyard for himself. And what did Jezebel say? She said, "Don't worry, I'll get it for you." And what happened? They killed the man. She ordered the death of the man who owned the vineyard, right? So when this man says, well, we can't guarantee how it's going to get done, but we know it's going to get done. That means even murder. You know what I mean? Even murder. It's sickening. It's really, really sickening. And we see a lot of that going on. I'm trying to skip through. I'm gonna show two more little pieces, and then we gotta get out of here, guys, because we've been on here for a long time. He's talking about how the satanic spells work. I think we heard enough there. Let's see.
Okay, super interesting. Let's go back to abortions, because in your book you talk a lot about abortions. Obviously, you did that a lot. That's one of the.
On the first floor are failures. I arrive at an abortion mill, and the abortion mill is 2 stories, and all the abortions take place on the second floor. Okay, so let me set up the scenario.
3 of them failed. For 46 were successful, so 3 of them failed. We already talked about why you performed so many abortions. Can you explain why 3 of them failed?
Sure. Now, it was a mystery to me back when this happened. Okay, so let me set up the scenario for one of the failures. I arrive at an abortion mill, and the abortion mill is 2 stories, and all the abortions take place on the second floor. On the first floor, on our side, is a satanic biker gang, and they're standing there flipping cigarettes across the street, flipping them off, mooning them, bearing their breasts to them. And there's males and females in this group. They're cussing out the people across the street. Now, the people across the street I've never been to an abortion mill like this. There's all these people across the street.
Notice he's calling it an abortion mill, MILL. You know what that is? Like back in the industrial period and so on, a mill is a place where food is ground. You know what I'm saying? Like where, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a production plant, so to speak. A mill is where they, so an abortion mill is where babies are essentially ground up. They're doing something with those babies. That's what we're saying. And now that we understand the witchcraft that goes on in Hollywood and all these things, right? Connecting the dots, like we said in the beginning, we understand that these babies are being used. Everything's being used. The fluids are being used. The tissue is being used. Everything is being used, right? Some of it is offered as a sacrifice. Sometimes they burn them. Back in ancient times, they would take the remains of the babies, right, after they were burned. When the women sacrificed them to Molech, and the Bible specifically says they made their children pass through the fire, right? They would take the ashes of these children, and they would put them into the walls of the city, in the city walls, right? You know what I mean? And I don't know if I read this somewhere or if I heard it in a preaching or a teaching, but someone was saying that that was why God wanted the children of Israel to walk around the walls of Jericho, because within Jericho's walls were the remains, or of all the babies that had been offered unto Molech. So he specifically he gave those specific instructions for a reason, because he wanted those walls to fall for a reason. And the way that he had them do it, like he said, like it says, God takes the foolish things to confound the wise. Who knew that walking around some walls, shouting and praising God, and so on, would make the walls fall, right? But only God. Only God. But there's telling us that there's a bit more to that story than we know, or that we talk about typically in church. So just keep that under your hat. So yeah, let's go.
I don't know what they're doing. Their heads are bowed, or they're walking around silently. They're having cigarettes flicked at them. People are cussing them. They don't seem to be care. They seem to be oblivious to everything that's being said to them. They're just on the other side of the street. There's just a little 2-lane road separating them. But they seem like if you gave them cigarettes to flick back, they wouldn't do it.
Okay.
And the room is set up. I have an altar already there. It's out of view of the people that are doing the abortion. You don't want what's going on? Send me upstairs. We get upstairs, and the room is set up. I have
an altar in the abortion mill. Oh God, Jesus!
Altar already there. Go inside. They tell me what's going on. Send me upstairs. We get upstairs, and the room is set up. I have an altar already there. It's out of view of the people that are doing the abortion. You don't want to totally freak them out. I mean, it's bad enough they're seeing me, and they know that this person has already said we can do this this act where the satanic eye is going to come in. This person is a breeder. That she's already had like 9 abortions, and she knows what time it is. She knows that it's all Satanists that are going to be in there, and they're going to abort her baby to the devil, and she's okay with it. So we go in there. I'm dressed as the High Wizard. I put on a surgical mask and gloves, and we're getting ready for this abortion to take place. And I'm in there. I have a handler, and your handler gets you your sin. So if you like cocaine and hookers, he's going to get you your cocaine and hookers. But whatever it is you like, this is the guy that you go to. And he travels with me almost everywhere. So we hear the people across the street start chanting. And we walk over to the window, and it's these large jalousie windows with a big hand crank. And we can't make out what they're saying through the glass. So we crank open the window. And by the way, when they start chanting, all the bikers down below took off running and screaming. We didn't know what's going on with that. So we listened to it a couple of times, and then I start repeating what I'm hearing. I'm thinking this is where it starts, because they get to this part and they stop, and then it starts over. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Then says the second half, Holy Mary, Mother of God. And we burst out laughing, because God's old. How old must his mom be? That's as far into that prayer as we got, because you're acting too silly. And we're like, okay, well, crank the window shut again. And we walk back over to this woman.
Hey, it's me, and I'm sorry for interrupting this amazing story, but I just wanted to remind you that we have extra content on Locals that you should check out, like the Beast Mode.
So it's hands. Doctor.
The links are in the description. Now, let's get back to the story.
So it's me, an abortion doctor, and an abortion nurse. All I've got to do is get blood on my hands. We're totally ready to start. The doctor checks the woman and says, you're not dilated. She's like, what? He goes, you're not dilated. This abortion's not happening right now. This is like at least 6 hours away. Probably tomorrow. Might be tonight. What are you doing? I said, I'm flying out in a few hours. I can't come back for a few days. And he goes, we'll do the abortion tomorrow. I said, I can't come back tomorrow. I got other stuff to be. I had other things to do. And she's like, excuse me. And I'm like, yes. She goes, is this your first rodeo too? No, I've done this quite a bit. And she said, well, the baby's in the birth canal. You might want to go ahead and start. And, I was like, he says you're not dilated. I'm not really sure what that means.
Okay.
And so I don't know what to check for. I'm not a doctor. She goes, what do you do? I said, I'm not a wizard. She goes, and you don't know how to check. There's no, I don't go to medical school for this. And she's like, you need to get down there. You need to get busy. You need to get going. Stuff's happening. You're going to have a baby on your hands. Doctor checks again. Goes, not dilated. Baby's definitely not in the birth canal. And, she's like, she's cussing us both out. I mean, some of these words I've never even heard before. She's like, you guys need to figure this out and start. Doctor checks one more time. He goes, there's nothing going on.
So before we continue, I have one question. This one was about to give birth. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And the reason why you wait so long for the abortion, is there a specific reason why, as a Satanist, you waited that long before?
They wanted it to be a late-term abortion.
And why?
Because you're murdering a baby that would be viable on the outside if it came out. You're killing more innocents.
So the principle is to try to do the most evil thing possible. And the worst thing is that the baby is about to come out and you just kill it right there. Right?
Right.
Okay. So let's go back to the story. What happened? The lady wasn't dilated.
Now we know why, a few years back, they were trying to legalize full-term abortions. When I heard that on the news in my car, I remember the day I heard it, I cried. Something in me it was the Holy Spirit. It was God's heart God's heart was broken. I wept and wept and wept and wept sitting in a parking lot in my car the day that I heard that. It just, so this is,
Dilated. She was cussing you out. What happened after?
Me and the doctor are involved in a conversation about when can I come back? Because I can't come back till Friday, but I've got things scheduled up until then. What do you have scheduled? Can you get me another girl in here on Friday that would understand what's happening? And as we're having this discussion, we hear a baby cry. And we both look down and the baby came out. And I think the doctor said, I'll be damned. And then we have an attorney and a social worker comes in, and the nurse stays and takes care of the baby, and they get the baby ready for adoption. There's people waiting in line to adopt, and they'll be called right away, and it won't be a Satanist that takes it. It'll be somebody that's a non-Satanist that wants the baby that isn't going to kill it. And, then it was time for me to go. My job is over. I didn't get to kill a baby. So we went back, walked downstairs, got in the car and drove away. eventually I'm back in the office, and the office is in downtown Chicago. And I asked my secretary to pull all the files of all the failed abortions. Because I've had, at this point, this was my third one. And I want to know what's the common denominator. So she pulled all of mine and everybody, all the other high wizards. So I can review everybody's and see what the common denominator is. So then I can tell the other high wizards, hey, avoid this. So the only common denominator I could come up with was that when they failed, they were happening during regular business hours. So between like 8 a.m. and 6 p.m.
Okay.
Now, something else that was a common denominator, but I didn't pick up on it because everybody called it something different. Everybody was saying, and people were outside praying Jesus beads, worry beads, prayer ropes, prayer chains.
So every time there was a failed abortion, there were people outside the abortion clinic that were praying
rosaries.
Now, I'm supposing this is the reason why he became a Catholic rather than, what I'm saying, just a regular Christian or a Christian. But notice how God will use anything. He will use anything. So even though there were Catholics outside, praying against these abortions, God worked through that. God worked through that. There's things that we don't know about God, y'all. He can and he will use anything or anybody to get what he wants done. It's and now he's going to talk about how he got saved and all of that. Him escaping the vicious.
I wanted to go to something else that you kind of touched on.
The vicious circle of sin, and escaping the Illuminati, and then meeting Jesus. He says he met Jesus in person. That's his story. And then also how God made him blind. So similar story to Apostle Paul. He's saying that this is his testimony. So
eventually you got a job and you went on. So you got bored of the sins and of the what got you excited to become a high wizard in the first place was not appealing to you anymore. So you thought about leaving. Well, the question is, you were involved with the Illuminati and the World Church of Satan. How hard is it to leave the Illuminati? Because I imagine it's not just a thing where you just retreat and it's like, oh, nothing happens after. So how hard is it really?
You realize at some point that if you leave, there's 3 ways to leave. You can die of natural causes, you can be murdered, or you can commit suicide. Now, all 3 of those methods, I believed I'd sold my soul to the devil when I was 13. So all 3 of those methods, I end up in hell. Now, when I first started, I wasn't sure hell was real. I agreed to sell my soul to the devil because I'm not sure the devil is real, and I'm not sure that hell is real. Now that I'm the High Wizard, I know the devil is real, and I'm pretty certain that hell is a real place. And I am not ready to go. So I have a bank account that has $87 million. None of it's mine. I can't spend it with impunity. It belongs to my coven. Whenever I have certain covers that I present to people or certain disguises, they have to know my bank account. So it's there for that. I drive a Lamborghini Diablo that was loaned to me by another Satanist. It's not my car. I have to give that back. My real car during that time, because I had a bunch of cars, my real car was a Nissan Sentra. Not even a new one, it was older. You know, I dressed as the High Wizard, and
Lamborghini Diablo for Diablos for devil. Some of these luxury car brand names as well. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I mean? Stop eating things that have been sacrificed unto demons. Stop consuming things that have been sacrificed unto demons, including Lamborghinis. You know, that video is coming soon on the luxury brands. It's on my list, so don't worry, it's coming.
I chose an 18th century style tuxedo, and it was made by a very nice clothing manufacturer, and it was expensive. And if you saw me in that, you thought, "Whoa, he's dressed nice." But if you came to my house, I remember I lived in Frenchtown. Frenchtown is in Tallahassee, Florida. I don't know what it's like now, but back when I lived there, it was the ghetto. If you came to my house and saw me dressed, I was probably wearing cutoffs, flip-flops, and a Metallica t-shirt. You know, I didn't dress in nice clothes all the time. I lived in the ghetto. I drove a borrowed car. You know, I had $87 million. It wasn't mine. My bank account had about between $235 and $265 in it when I was done paying all my bills.
So you had no money, and you mentioned there's 3 options, and all 3 of them lead to you dying, and you have no money in order to get out anyway. So I understand the difficulty of that, you know, to start with. But my question also is, because eventually you did end up leaving Satanism, but weren't you scared that your family was going to get targeted? Because I feel like that would be something pretty obvious. If you tried to escape, if you try to flee, they're going to target your family. So what was your thought process about that?
When I graduated college, by then I had been a High Wizard for about 5 years. I stopped contacting my parents and my brother. I didn't contact any family. And when all you think about is yourself, and you're that selfish, no one else matters to you. Which really, I think, was to my advantage when I left, because I wasn't worried about my parents. There wasn't any indication that I had called them in like was from them. Like I had tons of tricks and, you know, just tricks of the trade, stuff you learn, you pick up along the way on how to find somebody. Everybody leaves a paper trail, regardless of whether you think you do or you don't. Everybody does. I mean, it's worth $1,000. Let's say I spent, I sell it for $800 instead. People are going to jump at it. I'm going to get $800. The border. They wouldn't let me into Canada. Didn't give me a reason. Just said, you don't have a passport. I was like, you don't need a passport. You know, I got a driver's license. They didn't care. And they rejected me from the border. So I opened up United States Atlas, closed my eyes, put my finger down. What's Satan telling me today? Oklahoma. Landed on Tulsa, Oklahoma. So going to Tulsa. And so I went to, now keep in mind at this time that I am addicted to magic. So I'm still doing magic spells every day. But in my world, demons have to do what the High Wizard says. So I'm telling the demons not to tell anybody that where I am.
Because even though you're not part of the church, you're still a High Wizard, because the title is not given by the church, but it's given by Satan himself. Does that logic follows?
Yes. And
notice what he said. He said in his world, demons have to do what the High Wizard says. So just think about that, right? These these charlatan false prophets, you know what I'm saying, in LA, you know what I'm saying, that are known wizards. They are known wizards, right? You know, from Africa and so on. And even, you know, certain people over here who went over there, certain preachers over here who went over there or knew someone and got the same witchcraft to grow the church and all that, so they could have a mega ministry, make a lot of money, et cetera, et cetera. And then whenever they always want to do deliverance, they always, you know, because that's like showing how I'm so powerful. Look, I got, you know, and then they're what they're actually doing is they are commanding the demons to do what they tell them to do. That's why, you know, you see what's his name, the Java, you know, with the remote control deliverance and all that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like it's all for show. It's all for show. The demons are not leaving. In fact, they are imparting more demons into these people.
It's also, once you're made the High Wizard, it's for life. So there's no border guard there. You can just drive straight across. All right, I'm going that way. So I'm heading that way. I'm about 2 or 3 hours away. And I am suddenly just so exhausted, I can't keep my eyes open. So I find a rest stop and I take a nap. Except when I wake up, it's not 2 or 3 hours later. It's the next day. It's in the morning. I go to the bathroom, wash up, come back out, get in my car, drive across the border. It's only 2 hours away. Except when I drive across the border guard pulls me over, searches my car inside and out, top to bottom. And while he's doing that, he's telling me his life story. I'm the first person he's pulled over. He's been trying to get this job for 3 years. And today is his very first day on the job.
So if you hadn't slept in the car the day before, you would have went through. But because you couldn't control and you had to fall asleep, and that was a really long nap too, not a regular nap. And because it was the next day, now you got stopped.
Right. So, and my first thought was, God has got a sense of humor. So he rejects me and I have to go back into the States. And at this point, I am worth $18 and have half a tank of gas. And a friend tells me, some guy I met at a rest stop, told me about Burlington, Vermont.
So eventually you got a job and you went up the ranks and got a different job at a jewelry store. And that's when your life changed completely, because as you mentioned, you were still addicted to many things. You were still doing magic. So you had left the Illuminati and the World Church of Satan, but you had not left like Satanism or Satan's side.
Go blah, blah, blah. No, I don't want to come back. What she means is that she's going to go find him cheaper someplace else. Oh, no. Because what I'm expecting her to do is to pull out a Jack Chick pamphlet, tell me that I'm sinning, and to drop to my knees and beg for forgiveness. All the things I can't do because I sold my soul to the devil when I was 13. So instead of a Jack Chick pamphlet, she pulled out this cheap gold-colored piece of tin. This thing was so cheap that if you had a Pepsi can, you could have probably made 1,000 of them with the Pepsi can. And I'm looking at that. No one's ever handed me jewelry. I'm always handing it out. And, I sell fine jewelry. Right. Now we have her name.
Triggers your ego.
Guys, I'm trying. He's just, I mean, there it's dragging out at this point. I'm so sorry. We're gonna have to get off. I was trying to play the part where he said he met Jesus in person.
There's
But
also
it's just
an interesting story that we talked before we started recording the other day.
Just, but I don't think sometimes you're the only one there. They're paying to see you. And during the Q&A, everybody has a question, and you're the only one there to answer the question. You know, you were with me for 3 days or 2 days or 1 day. You spent a week with me. Am I arrogant? Everybody said no. I even had priests tell me you can't be arrogant and do the job you do. Like, I know better than to ask for patience. I can put it all back together. But imagine taking a piece of loose leaf notebook paper and crumpling it into a big ball.
okay, guys. I'm just gonna stop here because I can't find it. The part I was trying to play the part about how God made him blind. But I'm again, the link will be in the description because this has gotten so long, guys. Links in the description. I'm gonna split this into two parts, maybe try to get it out by morning in two parts. But I gotta go. I gotta go. Like, it's late. I was tired. Okay, and his testimony is very long, but it is so it is just so mind blowing. You know what I mean? Like, he's exposing a lot about what happens behind closed doors, who the real puppet masters are, you know what I'm saying, who the real players are, and what these celebrities are actually being used to do, so on and so forth, that they're the front men, right? They're the front men. And yeah, these people really are leading people to hell, bottom line, and the currency of Hollywood is blood and human sacrifices. Human sacrifice. That's why they're so big on abortions. That's why they're so big on, selling your soul, quote unquote, blood rituals and all those kinds of things. And then um, they're using that even in the products, a lot of the products and a lot of the things that we are purchasing as consumers that we do not know, we're not aware of, because they're lying about it, you know um allegedly they are lying about it. And but then, you have people like RFK who is, you know pulling everything out, saying, hey, don't, this is in this and this is in that, don't eat this and don't buy that, etc. But these I kept seeing for a long time, the Lord was saying, stay away from certain makeup brands, stay away from certain things like that, because he knew that, I loved makeup and hair and all that kind of thing. And I used to do hair reviews on my channel and stuff like that. God told me to stop. He told me to stop. Then of course, I found out that the companies that were sending me hair to do reviews on YouTube, um, were the same companies and the same companies that were same brands, etc., that were um, using the hair for demonic rituals. No lie, using the hair for demonic rituals. I could tell you a list of hair companies to never buy from, right? Because they're using the hair for satanic rituals, and then they're selling it to you. They do a ritual on the hair and then they sell it to you. That is why the hair industry, the weave industry, wig industry, and all of that is such a booming industry. At one point, I got into it, like I wanted to be a retailer. You know what I'm saying? Like I wanted to be a third party retailer, and I set up the website and everything, to do it. And then God told me to take it down. So, and I didn't even know why until after the fact. The brand started reaching out to me, asking me to, do wig reviews for them and stuff like that. I was doing it. God told me to stop. Certain makeup brands, I was doing, reviews on the makeup products, right? Like Fenty, when Fenty, when Rihanna came out with the Fenty brand and all that, and I did a review on the foundation. God told me to stop. When I did that review, God told me that same night, stop using it. And then when I didn't listen, right? I wanted to get my money's worth, you know what I'm saying? Because the bottle was new. And then I went to buy more, and the Holy Spirit said, you better not buy it. You better not buy it. So warning comes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. That's all I have to say. They are putting witchcraft in these makeup, a lot of these makeup brands. That's why it's so, notice, the exorbitant cost that people are paying for these things. I just got to put this in the next video, the next, because this is a lot. So let's just go. Let's just go. But notice, just pay attention to these things, right? It's a mockery. That's what they're doing. They are mocking the fact that they're stealing from you, where, that money could go to your future generations. It could go to your future kids. It could go, pay for, what I'm saying? They're making a mockery of people out here, and they're laughing all the way to the bank. And they are laughing all the way to the bank. And they know that what they sold you was witchcraft. What they sold you was, baby remains. What they sold you, and you're actually partaking in the rituals with them when you use those products and you don't even know it. And then we wonder why we're, struggling, spiritually, and struggling in so many areas. It's because so much witchcraft is going on. So much witchcraft is going on. It's at an all-time high, truly. We're going to park it. It's 3 hours, 26 minutes. I always see this number 326. That's my birthday, 326. So I'm going to take that as a sign I need to get off now, because God is in control of my life. Amen. I love you guys. Please like, share, comment, subscribe if you're not subscribed. If you catch us by way of replay, God bless you. I love you. And I'll see you guys Tuesday. God bless.